If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon, link is in the description.
Chapter 76, Waterfall. Not bad. Twisting his body and evading the torrent of cherry blossoms, Grimm felt a trickle of sweat roll down the side of his face. Relying on hand-to-hand combat alone might be a bit too much of a stretch against this guy. Feeling his eyes go wide, Grimm suddenly jumped backwards and barely managed to avoid being crushed by a stack of cherry blossoms. Looking at the place he had previously been standing at, Grimm saw that the ground had several slashes on it. Yep, fuck hand-to-hand combat. Watching Grimm jump around the area avoiding his attacks, a look of arrogance surfaced on Kersh's face as he flipped his grimoire to another page. How revolting, to think a commoner like you would dare raise your head in the presence of one as beautiful as I. And he has a couple of screws loose as well, excellent. Dodging another row of deadly cherry blossoms, Grimm thrust his hand and prepared to unleash a swordless Rengoku, but stopped at the last minute as more cherry blossoms appeared all around him. An omnidirectional attack at. Smiling at Grimm's trapped figure, Kersh brushed a strand of hair behind his ear as he humphed and turned away as the cherry blossoms converged on Grimm's figure. Walking towards his base's doors, Kersh expected to hear the sound of Grimm's screams. It was just a shame that what happened next left him completely dumbfounded. Instead of Grimm's cries for help, the sound of an explosion going off rung out behind him as Grimm stood in the middle of a revolving air ball completely unharmed. His cherry blossoms on the other hand lay scattered all across the ground. Of all the people I've faced today, you are by far the strongest. Take honor in the fact that you have made me draw my sword. Sword. As if to answer his question, an intense wave of mana exploded out of Grimm's figure as the glow around him became a bright blue. This mana. Feeling his eyes go wide from the immeasurable mana emanating from the commoner in front of him, Kersh didn't even realize the sword materializing in Grimm's hand. Gripping the sword with both hands, Grimm released a long-standing breath as he raised the sword high above his head. That stance. Watching the fight from the distance, both Luck and Finral's eyes nearly popped out of their heads as the blue aura around Grimm seemed to intensify. Feeling the water manifest on the blade and start spinning around it at high speeds, Grimm's eyes locked onto Kersh's figure. As the first person to face this move, I grant the right to hear its name. Faced with the overwhelming mana bursting from Grimm's figure, Kersh's face dropped as the color blue filled his eyes. I can't lose here. If someone as beautiful as me loses, then what hope is there for the rest of the world? A/N, narcissism at its highest. Gathering his courage, Kersh's grimoire flipped to a new page as he activated his strongest spell. Cherry Blossom Magic, Magic Cherry Blossom Blizzard. With his grimoire open, Kersh generated a phenomenal amount of cherry blossoms that covered the entire battlefield and directed them towards Grimm's figure. Die for my beauty. Tightening his grip on the sword hilt, the water on Grimm's blade started spinning faster as if it was excited. Disregarding the blizzard comprised of thousands of cherry blossoms heading towards him, Grimm closed his eyes and took in a deep breath. Breath of Water 8th Form, Waterfall Basin. Mirroring Yami's dark cloak dimension slash, Grimm slashed at Kersh vertically as an ethereal waterfall bigger than the entire base gathered in the sky. Following Grimm's sword motion, the waterfall eventually fell on Kersh and his cherry blossom blizzard. Crashing down on his figure, Luck and Finral watched in shock as not only was Kersh and the fallen magic knights engulfed by the waterfall, even the coral peacock's base was submerged. Large-scale magic. Watching Grimm's first ever use of large-scale magic, Finral felt all the hairs on his body stand up straight as a chill ran down his spine. By the time he had regained his composure, the entire battlefield was covered in water as Grimm stood in the center of the ruined base. With the amount of force contained in the waterfall, the coral peacock base didn't stand a chance as it was forcefully brought down. Glancing at the unconscious bodies laying all around him, Grimm released a breath as the water sword dematerialized and vanished from sight. Looking at the battlefield, Grimm once again praised King for wishing for that elven bloodline. Even though he used the back of the blade at the last minute, the amount of power in that last attack was more than enough for Grimm to feel proud of. If it wasn't for the fact that he had faced Yami's dimension slash, he'd probably go and challenge him right now. It's not enough. He clenched his fists as the scene of Yami's dimension slash replayed over and over again in his mind. Compared to him, everyone he had fought today were worthless. Maybe I should have attacked the Golden Dawn instead. Sighing at the fact that he had basically wasted the day, Grimm signaled Finral and Luck. Arriving on the scene and seeing the damage up close was a different kind of experience compared to watching from a distance. For one, they could see how everywhere had been doused in water. Finral was even worried that the Coral Peacock's magic knights might even catch hypothermia if left for too long. Then there was the fact that Grimm had fought all of them without wearing a mask or using anything else to conceal his identity. Sigh, this can only end badly. Walking over to the two of them, Grimm glanced back briefly. We're done here, let's go. Looking at the aloof expression on his face, Finral merely nodded and opened up the last portal for the day while Luck bombarded Grimm with fight challenges. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Grimm's first real large-scale magic attack. And did you guys watch EP 151 of Black Clover? Animation was so on point. And for that guy who said Fairy Tail could beat Black Clover, I still doubt it, but like I said previously, I don't know much about Fairy Tail anymore. Still can't see anyone beating Yami/Julius/Dante etc. Chapter 77, Star Awarding Festival. After defeating Kirsch and the other Magic Knight squads, Grimm, Luck and Finral returned back to the Black Bull's base. And just like that, time passed swiftly. Party time, people! Waking up to the sound of Yami's loud voice echoing throughout the entire base, Grimm almost fell off his bed as he woke up with a start. TCH, fucking loud mouth. Joining the others downstairs, Grimm saw that everyone was in a very festive mood. Ignoring Yami's current outfit and his overly positive mood that was quite off-putting, everyone else seemed to be the same as they were the day before. Grimm. Seeing the black-haired boy walk into the room, everyone's heads turned to look at him. What? Hearing Luck's voice call out to him, Grimm yawned lightly and joined the others. You excited for your first festival? Vanessa asked. My first festival? You do know that I've been to the festival before, right? Yeah, but not as a magic knight. Shrugging his shoulders, Grimm brushed her off. It wasn't that he wasn't excited about the festival, but as someone who had seen it during his days working in the restaurant, he didn't really see the mass appeal. Besides finding out which squad was the best, the whole thing was kind of a waste of time in his opinion. Besides, he could just read about the winner in the paper. Chatting with the members of his squad for a while, Finral finally opened up a portal to the festival location. Let's go! Yami exclaimed, charging ahead. Ho. Due to it being his first festival and not knowing what to expect, the moment the squad arrived at the festival, Asta's eyes were filled with stars as he gazed at the surroundings. Awesome! Looking around the area, Grimm couldn't help but sigh. Instead of wasting his time at a festival like this, he'd prefer to do some Magic Knight missions. Alright, you party animals! Yami yelled, drawing their attention. The rank announcement starts at 8, so go wild until then. Yes sir! Everyone saluted before running off. Just as Grimm was about to leave by himself, he found himself being pulled by Asta towards another direction. What are you doing? He asked as Asta dragged him towards the distance. I want you to meet someone. Asta grinned, not explaining what he meant. Now normally Grimm would push him off and get an explanation out of him, but seeing the excited look in his eyes caused Grimm to just sigh and go with the flow. There they are! Asta shouted at the sight of Finral and two strangers that Grimm didn't know. They're here. Noelle smiled at the two strangers. When did she get here? Ignoring Noelle's sudden appearance, Grimm took a closer look at the two strangers that Asta had dragged him towards. The two strangers were male and female, around the same age as Asta. They both had black hair and seemed like your average commoner. If there was anything about them that stood out, it'd have to be the fact that the guy was missing a leg and was using crutches. The girl on the other hand looked fine physically. Kahano. Kyoto. Asta yelled once they saw him. Heya. The guy said while the girl just waved and smiled. So this is what a festival on land looks like. Thanks for inviting us, Asta. The guy smiled while the girl nodded furiously. Haha, yeah. Asta grinned and scratched the back of his head. La la la. A melodious voice rung out as the group of teenagers looked to the side and saw a woman singing while playing a lute and ridding a magic carpet. Looking at the singing woman, Grimm noticed that the smile on Kahano's face wavered slightly. Is she jealous? Oh yeah! Asta suddenly exclaimed, remembering that Grimm was here with them. This is the guy I was talking about last time we fought. Asta said, introducing Grimm to Kyoto. Looking at Grimm up and down, the smile on Kyoto's face grew as he held his hand out. Nice to meet ya. Sure. Grimm nodded and shook his hand, not understanding why Asta brought him here. Did you bring the leg? Asta asked Kyoto. Yep. He nodded, picking up a jar with a severed leg in it. Okay, what the fuck? Seeing the severed leg in the jar caused Asta to nod as he said, all right then. Before opening up a little capsule with some red liquid in it. Isn't that the healing blood that I gave him from the Lesbo Queen? I completely forgot to ask for it back. Popping the cork out of the capsule, red vein-like blood crawled out from the capsule before gathering around Kyoto's leg and Kahano's throat. Blood healing magic, curse-breaking blood cocoon. My leg. It's back. It's really back. I can dance again. Gay. While Grim was silently judging Kyoto, who was dancing with joy, Kahano suddenly burst into tears. Hugged Noelle and starting thanking Noelle profusely. Thank you. Thank you so much. She cried. Then to make the situation even more awkward, Kyoto did the exact same thing but to Asta. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Caught off guard by the hug, it took a minute for Asta to respond. Actually, the one you should be thanking is Grim. Without him I wouldn't have even been able to get this bottle. Now that I think about it, he also saved my Magic Knight career. Did he just realize that now? Ha ha ha, wow, from a certain point of view Grim saved all of our dreams. Asta laughed, not realizing that Grim was looking at him with conflicted eyes. On one hand he understood that Asta used the Bitch Queen's blood to heal his friends and he couldn't fault him for that, on the other hand he used Grim's Witch Queen blood on people that Grim couldn't give two shits about. He didn't know these people, their futures didn't impact him nor would they benefit him. Hell, they could both still be crippled and he wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Grim. Asta called. You okay? Still debating. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Pretty tame CHP, just wanted to get rid of the Bitch Queen's blood so that Grim couldn't take advantage of it in the future without having to return to the forest, like he'd ever do that. Also Asta using his shit, even if his reasons were noble I'm not sure Grim will take kindly to it. Grim is not a good person, remember. In fact, I don't think I've ever wrote a wholeheartedly good MC, too generic for my taste, and beta/Japanese MC problems. As for the whole fairy tale vs Black Clover thingy, I meant universe vs universe. Someone recently commented that acknowledges body isn't affected by magic, so almost everyone in BC would be useless against him. Which makes it understandable how he ruled future rogues timeline, but it begs the question how these dragon gods from 100 Quest could rival him. Chapter 78, PTSD. After having her voice healed, Kahano suddenly burst out into song, drawing everyone's attention to her. But by that point Grim had already pieced the fuck out. Like seriously, what kind of person spontaneously bursts out into song in a crowded area? That shit was too weird for Grim to handle, so he quickly and quietly got the fuck out of there while everyone was distracted. Fucking weirdos. Stuffing his hands into his pockets and turning away, he whistled to himself as he explored the nearby stalls. Listening to the performers and buying food from the stalls, Grim spent most of his time playing games and winning prizes. By the time he was finished he could barely carry everything. In all honesty, most of the games required the participants to have a decent degree of mana control. For someone like Grim whose mana control was refined to the point of being able to solo a mage using spirit magic, the stall games were more or less child's play. As for the games that didn't rely on mana control like the shooting games, all he had to do was show off his technical skills in order to win the biggest prizes. What the hell am I doing? Walking around with a giant teddy bear hanging off his neck, Grim's current appearance definitely didn't resemble that of a powerful Magic Knight that had just crushed 3 Magic Knight squads a couple of days prior. Speaking of crushed Magic Knights, while he was walking around the area he accidentally bumped into 2 familiar faces, causing a commotion. How dare you serve a filthy peasant before me? Are you looking down on us nobles? Oh ho ho ho, don't bully the commoners, brother, you might catch something. Standing in the distance, Grim watched as a cocky silver-haired male and female with really shitty hairstyles bullied a cowering stall owner out of food. What was the sentence for offending nobility again, sister? The silver-haired male asked with a crooked smile. Why, death, of course. Death. The stall owner stuttered. Ah yes, death. Quite lenient if you ask me. The silver-haired male said as he raised his hand. Now brother. The silver-haired woman interrupted. Make sure not to get any blood on us. I'm afraid that even if we sold everything this man owned it wouldn't be capable of paying to get the stains removed. Smirking at his sister's comment, the silver-haired noble prepared to cast a spell. In the eyes of the nobles a single commoner's life was worth even less than the food they consumed on the daily. But just as he was about to dispatch the stall owner, an all too familiar voice made its way into his ears, causing him to freeze. Wow, your SS must really be jealous of the large amount of shit that comes out of your mouths. What? Who dares to unlike her brother, the silver-haired woman didn't recognize the voice until both she and her brother turned to look at the side. "Why you? What's up my royal bitches?" Grimm smirked and waved. Startled by Grimm's sudden appearance, cold sweat appeared on the faces of the two Silva siblings as Solid lowered his raised and started walking backwards slowly. "Why are you here?" Nebra's voice shook as she felt rooted to the ground. Every instinct was screaming to run. Run as far away as possible without looking back. Ever since their last encounter during the decoration ceremony, the smile Grimm had on his face while smashing her face into the ground had etched itself deep into her memories. Suffering from countless nightmares and being forced to wear bandages around her faces for several months one end caused a shadow of fear to seep into the deepest corners of her heart. "Why can't I be here? It's a festival, right?" With a gentle smile on his face, Grimm started closing in on the two of them. I. Nebra stuttered, still frozen in place with shaky legs. "You what?" Grimm asked, tilting his head, coming closer. With every step he took, Nebra and Solid found it harder and harder to breathe as their faces were drenched in sweat and their bodies felt like they were becoming heavier by the second. It was as if every step was as loud as thunder as the siblings found themselves trembling from fear. For the second time in their lives the two understood what it meant to be weak. Despite having the status of nobility, in the face of such overwhelming power they might as well have been ants. Insignificant creatures that could be trampled on without the person even realizing that they had just killed a sentient being. He was a beast, a bloodthirsty monster that did not care for the rules or traditions of this kingdom. From the moment he arrived in the capital, cracks had started to form in the Clover Kingdom's hierarchy. Not even realizing that he was standing right beside her, Nebra's eyes went wide as he started to speak. "What are you doing?" I. Bitches don't have the right to stand in my presence." Placing his hand on her shoulder, Nebra felt as if an entire palace hand been dropped on her. "Kneel." Bang. In front of her brother and the surrounding commoners, the prideful and arrogant Nebra Silva dropped to her knees with her head hung down low. "Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me," she pleaded as memories of the decoration ceremony flooded her mind. "SSSSHHH." He shushed her while retaining his innocent smile. "As long as you remember your place we won't have a problem, understand? A/N, for those who think Grimm is a good person. He's not." "Why yes," she said weakly. Good, now what is your place?" "Beneath you." "And what are you?" "I." Seeing her fall silent, the edges of Grimm's lips started to rise. "Don't make me repeat myself." Even though her head was down and she had no way of telling what expression he had on his face, Nebra's instincts told her he was smiling. And that smile made her body numb. I'm a bitch." Hearing admit to it caused Grimm to burst out into a fit of joyful laughter as his sadistic side was starting to show. Knowing that he had broken such an arrogant woman gave him a sense of pleasure that rivaled his urge to fight and crush his enemies. "Ha ha 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 ha, that's right. You're nothing but a lowly bitch. So what if you're a royal? In front of me this is all you can ever aspire to be. A lowly bitch that kneels before her betters. And you?" He turned his attention to a terrified Solid who had fallen on his ass. "You must really have thought you were hot shit just a minute ago, right?" Did I say you could answer?" Releasing some of his killing intent, Solid's face warped into something unrecognizable as he felt a dangerous pressure lock onto him. But just before Grimm could take another step towards him, he suddenly stopped. "Did you just piss yourself?" Creator's thoughts. Errata. I like how Grimm knows that these guys are related to Noel but still does shit like this to them in public. Dude's fucking brutal. And it's not like he did it to save the stall owner either, my guy was just that bored and saw an opportunity to pass the time. That, and we haven't seen this side of Grimm since CHP 30, so I felt like everyone needed a reminder that Grimm isn't a good guy. He doesn't care about doing the right thing, nor does he care about stopping the bad guy. As long as he gets to fight strong people and get stronger himself, then he'll let most things fly. I'd say he's chaotic neutral. Chapter 79, Next Level. After forcing both siblings to kowtow in front of him, Grimm made them, willingly, give up their money and jewels before leaving them where they were. Seeing as they had literally pissed their pants when facing him, he wasn't worried about any sort of revenge on their part. What about their big brother, you ask? Well, Grimm had already pissed off several magic knights recently, so it's not like adding another one would change anything. Whistling to himself and walking around, he noticed that several commoners were looking at him with strange expressions. Some were fearful, others were grateful, and the majority was admiration. Seeing a little boy in the crowd staring at the huge teddy bear hanging around his neck, Grim pulled the bear closer to his body as he wanted to show the kid that this bear belonged to him and that he wasn't one of those empty-headed emotional types that would give their hard-earned winnings to a little kid just because they happened to be born a decade later than him. Grim. Someone in the crowd yelled his name. Turning his head to the side of Rebecca and her siblings came into view. Not bothering to say anything, he gave the redheads a subtle head nod before continuing on. He didn't ignore me. Seeing him acknowledge them, Rebecca was both surprised and touched. Carrying her baby sibling in her arms, she ran towards Grim with her other siblings staying close by. "Wait up, will ya?" she yelled as she caught up to him. "Grim!" the two kids yelled, jumping onto him. "Yawn." "Yo!" he greeted. "Hey! Didn't you promise to visit us?" Rebecca pouted. "When'd I say that? When you last visited us. Doesn't sound like me. Yet. You even promised that you'd buy us gifts." The siblings complained. "Now that really doesn't sound like me." "Ahem, well, take this as a lesson." "A lesson?" Everyone looked at him confused. "Yeah, don't believe everything everyone tells you." But you're not everyone, you're Grim," the kids said with innocent eyes. "I'm also a liar," Grim responded, ignoring their puppy dog-like eyes. Seeing the downcast look appearing on her siblings' faces, Rebecca tried to change the mood. "He's just joking, right, Grim?" "Joking? I would never do such a thing, haven't you heard? Honesty is the best policy." "What? You just called yourself a liar a minute ago." "I've turned over a new leaf." He shrugged. "So you'll be completely honest with me from now on?" Rebecca asked. "Yep. That was a lie, wasn't it?" "Yet." He grinned. Growing annoyed by his constant teasing, Rebecca almost snapped. "What happened to turning over a new leaf?" "I turned the leaf back over. A/N, I really love writing this guy's dialogue." Seeing how he could say something so shamelessly with such a righteous-looking face, it took a minute for Rebecca to remember who she was talking to. Face-palming herself, the redhead was both annoyed and frustrated by this guy, but more than anything she was glad. Glad that he hadn't changed. Although she wouldn't say it to his face, she really missed their conversations. From the way he would curse and talk about things she wouldn't understand to their childish arguments, she was happy to experience it all again. "Why are you smiling?" Grim asked. Taking a deep breath, she raised her head to show off a smile so bright that Grim was momentarily stunned. "What the hell?" Feeling a tingle by his side, he realized that his grimoire was glowing a bright pink color. Flying out of its holster, the book opened up and flipped to a glowing pink page. "Did I just get another breath of flower spell?" Confused as to how he was getting all these new spells, he was expecting the page to be something related to breath of flower. Despite not practicing the spells from this particular style, after seeing the way Kirsch used the petals in his battle against him, he was starting to become interested in it. So you can imagine his surprise when he saw that the first words on the page wasn't breath of flower, in its place was the words breath of love. Refusing to say anything, Grim slowly closed the book and placed it back into his holster. "Grim? Grim? Hey!" Snapping out of his daze, he realized Rebecca and her siblings were staring at him. "What? Why was your grimoire glowing? You weren't planning to attack me, were you?" "What? You think I'd attack you with magic when my hands are perfectly fine? Don't insult me like that. A/N, brew. I feel like you think you just said something reassuring but don't realize how bad you actually sound. But that's besides the point. I've been researching that condom thing you were talking about a while back and I still can't find any records of it. Are you sure it's a real thing?" Before Grim could answer, he saw a familiar-looking figure in the distance. "Grey. Hey Grey." Hearing her name being called, the currently transformed Grey, who had taken the appearance of a heavy-set man with slicked-back black hair, turned around to find Grim and a group of redheads standing behind her. Seeing that she wasn't responding, Grim quickly asked her to change into a more talkative form, in this case Luck. "Cool." Rebecca's siblings chimed when they saw her transform. Now that she had transformed, Grey became a lot more talkative as she was introduced to Rebecca and the others. "So there's this thing I've been wondering about since I found out you were a transformation mage." Listening to Grim, Grey, or Luck had a curious look on her face. "His face? Its face. What were you wondering about?" "Actually, before asking that, do me a favor and transform into me. Okie dokie. Asterisk poof. Asterisk. Activating her magic, Gray's Lux figure released a small smoke cloud as she took on Grimm's figure. Whoa! The kids gasped. She really does look like you. Rebecca muttered, running her eyes over Gray's new figure. Done it, so what were you curious? Gray asked Grimm. Taking a figure to size himself up, Grimm couldn't help but nod. Since you can transform into other people, do you think you'd be capable of modifying parts of it? Modifying? Yet, for instance, could you gender bend me? What? A/N, ha. I know you readers all thought he wanted a bigger D*ck when he said modify. Like, could you give this version of myself that you've transformed into female features? I've never tried it. Gray. He said seriously. I need you to do this for me, understand? Seeing the way he was looking at her, Gray took a deep breath and nodded. I understand. She said before closing her eyes to concentrate. After standing still with her eyes closed for almost 5 minutes, Gray's figure suddenly burst into smoke as a woman with long black hair and shiny yellow eyes adorning a beautiful black dress and black bull's robe took her place. Is this good enough? While Rebecca and her siblings stood awestruck by the woman in front of them, Grimm couldn't help but nod and mutter to himself. It's as I suspected, even as a woman, I'm next level. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Pretty chill CHP. Finally have Grimm and Gray having a conversation. Got Rebecca back, honestly love Grimm and Rebecca's dynamic. And we now have a female-looking Grimm for fan service. Chapter 80, Fighting Spirit. Admiring the female version of himself, Grimm nodded repeatedly whilst Rebecca and her siblings stared in awe. So pretty. Even the other commoners around them were being drawn in by the female version of him. It was to the point that a crowd was starting to gather. It honestly made Grimm wonder if Gray knew charm magic or not. But what was really strange was the fact that he could take a casual look at the female version of himself and continue on like it was nothing. While he admired it, he couldn't be said to be enchanted like the others. Maybe it was because he was basically just looking at himself. Seeing everyone enthralled by Gray, Grimm took this as an opportunity to continue exploring the festival before the stars were awarded to the squads. Removing the giant bear from around his neck, Grimm placed it next to Rebecca's little brother. While he had no problem showing it off in front of the other kid from earlier, Grimm remembered that Marco's birthday came around not too long ago. And since he missed it, he thought why not give him this oversized bear that was drawing way too much attention to himself. And with that, Grimm quietly left the area. Hey Grimm! It's starting! Get over here! Hearing somebody call his name for the second time today, Grimm turned his head to see a very energetic Asta bouncing around a stall with Captain Yami and a couple of other Black Bull members present. Ignoring Vanessa, who was passed out on the stall counter with someone who looked to be the Blue Roses captain, Grimm made his way over to join the rest. But before he could arrive, the sight of the Wizard King appearing on stage sent an uproar throughout the entire area as every other captain besides Yami and Charlotte made their way onto stage. It's the Wizard King! Oh my god! IT Captain Vang Ince! Captain Rill is so adorable! I love you, Captain Dorothy! Listening to the crowd's cheers, Grimm set his sight onto the captains as he felt his battle intent start to rise. Finally, I can see all the captains gathered together once again. Wait a second! That isn't Fuegoleon. Looking at a ginger-haired woman decked out in the crimson lion robes, Grimm felt a ferocious aura emanating from her. As if feeling his gaze, the ginger-haired woman turned her head in his direction and grinned. Asterisk roar. Asterisk. Feeling as if he was being started down by a towering lion, Grimm felt the corners of his lips start to rise as his breath of the beast aura burst out of his body, releasing a beastly aura. Sensing his battle intent, the woman's eyes started shining as the rest of the captains and Julius started taking notice of what was going on. Looking in Grimm's direction, the usually calm expression on Nozel's face faltered for a second as a rising sense of annoyance started swelling in him. If he knew that Grimm had forced his younger sister to kneel before him and caused his brother to piss himself in front of a large crowd of the kingdom's citizens and shaming the House of Silva before proceeding to rob the two of them, his expression probably wouldn't be as restrained as it currently was. It was just too bad that Grimm's eyes were focused solely on the orange-haired woman. Sensing that things were about to get out of hand, Julius cleared his throat before calling for everyone's attention and revealing the results of the Star Awarding Festival. In first we have the Golden Dawn. He yelled. Hell yeah! A couple of citizens shouted. With an unbelievable amount of 125 stars, the Golden Dawn have broken their previous record of 96 stars and have grasped first place once again. Who else but them? As expected. While the crowd was cheering, Julius started talking and everyone naturally quietened down. While the Golden Dawn has shown incredible effort this year, let's move on to the member who contributed the most towards star acquisition. The hopeful newcomer accompanied by the wind spirit Sylph, Yuno. Taking a step forward, Yuno drew the attention of the entire audience as several girls including Charmy started fangirling. Congratulations Yuno! Mimosa and Klaus congratulated amongst the noise. Yuno. For the first time since the award ceremony started, Grimm finally looked away from the tigress. Compared to the last time he saw him, the current Yuno exuded an even more powerful aura. He's grown stronger. While he couldn't measure just how strong he had become, Grimm couldn't help but wonder if Yuno was even his opponent any longer. Not to toot his own horn or anything, but with his current battle experience and his current level of mana control, he found it hard to believe anyone in the younger generation would be his match. He might have considered Asta if he was able to tap into that power that he had used during the Witch's Forest battle, it was just too bad that he couldn't. And while luck had become stronger after visiting the dungeon with Magna when they went searching for a cure for Asta's arms, the amount of strength he had acquired wasn't enough to rouse Grimm's fighting spirit. But even so, he couldn't imagine that Yuno had become strong enough to fight that controlled version of Asta let alone himself. And after experiencing the full power of the salamander, a grown one at that, he doubted that the immature state of the wind spirit would be a great amount of help in an actual battle. Carrying on with the awards, Julius called out the name of second place. With 101 stars, second place goes to the Black Bulls. Listening to the crowd's suspicious murmurs, Grimm couldn't help but grin as his squad mates focused on what they were doing instead of the Wizard King. Calling for everyone's attention, the Wizard King quickly explained the situation. I know that it may be a little strange that the Black Bulls are second place this year after previously garnering negative stars, but throughout these past 6 months the Black Bulls have displayed incredible growth and climbed all the way to second place at once. But the most impressive amongst them was their newcomer hang on a second, their captain's not even up here. Hey Black Bulls! He shouted in Grimm and Asta's direction. Come up and receive your reward. Ha, sounds like they're calling for you Asta. Grimm smiled and looked over at his grey-haired friend. Me? Asta said in surprise. Who else? No, no, no. He waved his hand in front of his face. The Wizard King was obviously looking at you. And besides, if it wasn't for you I wouldn't even be here. What? In our first mission to that village, you let me take care of the leader and took on his underlings even though you were more than capable of beating him yourself. And you managed to defeat Mars after he hurt Noel and helped defend the kingdom after the Midnight Sun attacked the capital. You did that as well though. He's right Grimm. Noel stepped up and said. You also helped put an end to that Barrow guy who kidnapped the kids from the orphanage. Asta was there as well. Why do you guys want me to get on the stage so much? Waking up from her drunken nap, Vanessa chimed in for some reason. Don't forget that you Burp also defeated a high-ranking member of both the Diamond Kingdom and the Eye of the Midnight Sun when we went to the Witch's Forest. Yet. You also got the Witch Queen to fix my arms. Asta said waving them. You got me into the Black Bulls and gave me the opportunity to continue to strive towards my dream. If you think you're not worthy of not accepting the award then I'm definitely not. Turning to face the others, Grimm saw all of them nodding their heads in agreement with Asta. Sigh, I didn't even say anything about not being worthy. I just don't want to go up there because I'm 90% sure that I'll be recognized by the Magic Knights of the squads I demolished not too long ago. That being said, this could turn into an interesting outcome. Alright. He nodded while looking at the ginger woman on the stage who was staring at him. Yet. The Black Bulls cheered. Attaboy. Yami nodded before slapping him on the back. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Finally got this CHP done. Uni is killing me at the moment. Turns out I've even got to do work over the Christmas holiday so hoo. Honestly feeling stressed at the amount of work. But hey, even if I fail it's not like my life will end. Anyway, sorry for taking this long. But as I promised, I will not drop. Also liked reading in Grimm's achievements over the past in World 6 months. LOL, do you think he's gonna get recognized next chapter or what? Chapter 81, Exposed. Excited at the thought of being recognized and starting a major brawl, a sly smile crept onto Grimm's face as he manipulated his mana to levitate off the ground and slowly make his way into the air. Whoa! Look, mommy! Someone's flying! A child yelled after seeing him. Holy shit! That guy's wearing some dope-ass shades. Some random guy said with wide eyes. After taking to the skies, Grimm seemed to attract a lot of attention from the crowd as the shades he had won from Yami and Magna all those months ago had found their way onto his face. Grinning at the adoration coming from the commoners below him, he flashed a cheek grin at the trembling Nebra who was standing in a little tower before flying over to the stage and landing next to Yuno. This guy, he can fly without a broom. Yuno frowned. Seeing Yuno stare at him, Grimm revealed a provoking grin at both him and that little spirit. Grr. He's looking down on us, Yuno. Slyph yelled, pulling on his cheek. Ignoring the annoying little thing, Yuno's eyes never left Grimm's figure as the two of them simultaneously released shocking levels of mana from their bodies. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Whoa. The crowd looked at the two newcomers with admiration. Bursting out from both of their bodies, a green glow and grey aura reflecting their magic types clashed together, causing a powerful shockwave to ripple through the air, shaking the surrounding area. Oh ho! Mereoleona grinned seeing the two of them. They're already capable of materializing their own mana. Charlotte muttered. After seeing the grey and green aura clashing. TCH, show-offs. Jack scoffed. Feeling Yuno's mana push back against his, the grey aura released by Grimm grew in size as an intense beastly aura started spreading out. Ha! Ha 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 ha! He started laughing as his aura started to push back against Yuno's. Ugh! Yuno frowned as he was forced to take a step back. Vel! Yuno muttered as his eyes hardened. Breathing out slightly, Grimm felt the spirit's power start to change as she started glowing and hugging her body. He raised his eyebrow. Looks like he's about to do something interesting. I can't wait. Just as the two were about to take it a level further, everything suddenly stopped as they found themselves caught in the Wizard King's chronostasis orb. What? As much as I enjoy the spectacle, let's wait for a more appropriate time. The Wizard King's voice sounded out as he smiled before releasing the two of them. This fucker! Grimm cursed and threw the king a death stare. Unfortunately, the king didn't seem to react as he merely sent him a smile before focusing his attention back on the audience. Whew! That was awesome! You guys rock! Yeah, show 'em what you're made of, Grimm! Rebecca and her sibling cheered. Despite being completely ignored by the two of them, the audience was clearly impressed by their show of power. While the crowd was cheering them on, nobody except Asta noticed the forced smile on Yuno's face. In that clash of mana just now, he was clearly at a disadvantage and was almost forced to use his trump card if not for the Wizard King stepping in. Staring at Grimm, who seemed unaffected by releasing that much mana, Yuno couldn't help but clench his fists. I'll surpass you! Coughing loudly to draw everyone's attention, the Wizard King started speaking. As you can see, our new magic knights are something really special. But what you may not know is that these two are commoners just like all of you. Gasp! Seriously? Commoners can be that strong? Doesn't that mean that they've worked harder than the nobles if they can stand on the stage like that? Seeing that he had drawn everyone's attention, the Wizard King's voice grew louder as he started hyping up the magic knights. It's true that they're commoners, but that just shows you how hard they've worked to reach this point. Oh, proud citizens of the Clover Kingdom! Please give a warm round of applause to these two new magic knights. Who? Hell yeah! Let us overcome our differences in status and position to unite and guide our country to victory. The Wizard King yelled. All hail the Wizard King! The crowd cheered. This guy really knows how to give a speech. Grimm noted. While everyone was busy cheering, a member of the Purple Orcas who had mixed into the crowd took a closer look at Grimm. Haven't I seen him before? Taking a longer look at him, the Magic Knight's eyes shook as he connected the dots. It's him! His voice shook as he stood to his feet. It's him, it's him, it's him! He started yelling loudly while pointing at the shade-wearing Grimm. Hey! Someone heard him shouting, quieten down. And one by one, the Magic Knight started drawing more and more people's attention. What's he doing? This looks interesting. Does he know him? It drew so much attention that even the Wizard King and the captains had taken notice. It's him. He's the one who attacked our base. The man screamed. Attacked their base? The citizens said, looking confused. That's right. A member from the Azure Deer stood up after recognizing Grim. He attacked us too. And us. A random person wearing a coral peacock robe stood up and yelled. How did they recognize me in my shades? Just kidding. Well, this is interesting. Mereoleona mumbled to herself while staring at Grim with a curious expression. Sigh. What did that boy do now? Yami sighed. Magic Knight Grim, what are they talking about? The Wizard King asked. Even the usually stone-faced Yuno was looking at him with interest. Can't say I wasn't expecting this. But at least it's not boring. Seeing all eyes on him, Grim smiled to himself before clearing his throat and taking a step forward. Citizens of the Clover! He shouted, surprising the Wizard King and all the captains. As you all know, 6 months ago I joined the Black Bulls after turning down 3 other Magic Knight squads. But why would I do that, you ask? Simple. Before my arrival the Black Bulls were the worst of the worst, absolute trash in the eyes of the kingdom. But in a mere 6 months of me being there, my squad has not only surpassed every other prominent Magic Knight squad besides the Golden Dawn. I dare say our combat power even surpasses them. Asterisk gasp. Asterisk. Mumbles. Now. He continued. How could I possibly believe that, you wonder? Well, the results speak for themselves. I, a Magic Knight rookie, challenged 3 of our kingdom's Magic Knight squads and absolutely crushed them beneath me. Me. A guy who joined 6 months ago beat veteran Magic Knights and some of their vice-captains. Now, what does that say about the quality of Magic Knights if a rookie like me could do that? Facepalm. This guy. Yami mumbled while the crowd whispered amongst themselves. And you wanna know the funny thing? I didn't even use that much power. In fact, I'm certain that this guy next to me points at Yuno and the other rookies in my squad are capable of doing the same. So I ask of you, Clover Kingdom citizens. Am I wrong for wanting to test the mettle of the Magic Knights who have sworn to protect our kingdom? No. Am I wrong for wanting to learn from my seniors? No. Am I wrong for them failing to beat me? No. Then I ask of you, my brothers and sisters, grins, do I deserve to be punished? No. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Pretty sure Grim could incite a riot. Remember, the god said that they wipe his memories because of how problematic he is. This is him without those memories, imagine if he had them. And lol, bet you all thought he was gonna trash talk. But that would have been way too predictable. I like variety. And sorry for the late CHP again. Uni's kicking my ass and it looks like I'm going to be doing uni work over the holiday as well, sad face. Chapter 82, The Clover King. As he watched the rising cries of the Clover Kingdom citizens praise his name, Grim could only think, well, that was easy. Who knew getting public opinion on his side would pose no difficulty? While Grim was basking in the praises of the crowd, Nozel's face had scrunched up into an unpleasant-looking expression as it took everything he had not to attack Grim there and then. After the humiliating insults directed at him and his siblings during the previous ceremony, he had wanted to use any excuse to teach this brat a lesson. The Wizard King, on the other hand, was looking at Grim with a complicated expression. While he had been informed of the attacks on the Magical Knight squads and had recently ordered an investigation, never in his wildest dreams had he imagined that the perpetrator was this boy in front of him. Looking at the boy smiling and waving to members of the audience, for the first time in his life, the Wizard Kingdom couldn't see a person's future. A/N, not literal future for you guys who take things too literal. In his speech, Grim had stated that he had only wanted to test the limits of the current Magic Knights. Combined with the fact that no one was hurt and that the public was on his side, the Wizard King and the captains saw that it was becoming increasingly harder to punish Grim for his actions. If news got out that they had harshly punished an upcoming Magic Knight because he beat several senior knights who had years of experience on him, the Magic Knight captains and the Wizard King would be seen as bullying and suppressing the weak. Added to the fact that Grim was a commoner like the rest of them, punishing him could incite a revolution against the current monarchy, as the Wizard King and many captains were nobility. Ha! That bastard Yami's really picked up someone interesting. Jack laughed while indirectly praising Grim for his actions. So that's the guy who attacked my base. Rill mumbled to himself while giving Grim a curious look. I wonder what kind of art I could produce by talking to him. With a guy like that around, no wonder the Black Bulls have come second this year. Mereoleona chuckled while staring intensely at Grim. This guy attacked Magic Knight squads by himself. Yuno thought to himself. Seeing that it wasn't the right time to talk to Grim about what had happened, the Wizard King coughed loudly and informed everyone of the rest of the squad rankings. First place, Golden Dawn. Second place, Black Bulls. Third place, Silver Eagles. Fourth place, Blue Rose. Fifth place, Crimson Lions. Sixth place, Green Mantis. Seventh place, Coral Peacocks. Eighth place, Purple Orcus. Ninth place, Azure Deer. Listening to the wizard announce the rankings, Grin found himself grinning the entire time. Not only had he gotten away with attacking 3 Magic Knight squads, he'd also made so that the Wizard King and the others couldn't punish him without inciting public outrage. He'd probably get a stern talking to at most. Humans are so easy to manipulate. Long live the Magic Knights! The crowd cheered. Long live the Wizard King! Once the crowd had settled down, the Wizard King continued speaking. Now that the rankings have been announced, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. His Highness the King of the Clover Kingdom Augustus Kira Clover XLLL has graced us with his presence. Clover Kingdom King. I forgot we had one of those. In all fairness, Grim didn't take an interest in those he didn't consider strong, and from the rumors he'd heard about their king, he was incredibly weak and spineless. Walking through an archway connected to the stage, a middle-aged man with a pedophilic mustache dressed in some expensive-looking clothes carrying a scepter appeared on the stage and walked up right next to the Wizard King. "Don't stand next to me," he said arrogantly while shooing Julius away. "Ah yes." Julius nodded before distancing himself. "Give it up for our king," Julius said to the audience. Looking at Julius and then the king, the crowd cheered with little to no enthusiasm. Long live the king or whatever. Yet. Was that it? Grim wondered. I guess the king's even more unpopular than I thought. What the hell was that? The king snapped. "Praise me more, you peasants. I am your king. I am the most important person in this country. Revere me. Is this guy for real? How dare you not cheer for me?" This went on for quite a while. "I am better than all of you." "Oi, are you done yet?" a voice interrupted. "Hey!" Everyone turned to look in the direction the voice came from. Sighing loudly, Grim put his hands in his pockets and gave the king an arrogant look. "If you're here to show off, you might as well give up now." "What?" The king's eyes went wide as he couldn't believe that there was someone capable of speaking up against him. "I mean, you've got a lot of magic power and all, but you kind of give of a weak aura, you know." He's talking back to the king. The crowd gasped. Placing his hand on his chin, Grim gave the king a quick look up and down. "And looking at the way you carry yourself, I can tell that your combat prowess is even lower than most of the citizens standing here," he said while nodding to himself. "How dare why? Oh. And I can't forget that incorrect statement you said earlier." Listening to the conversation between the king and Grim, the Wizard King really didn't know how to interrupt. "You said that the king is the most important person in the country and that we should revere you, right?" "Of course." The king stuck his chest out proudly. "But if you suddenly vanished, wouldn't someone else just become the king?" "Hey!" the king said, looking confused. "I mean, there's definitely someone next in line for the throne, right?" Well. And even if there wasn't, we could always just elect a new king, right? Doesn't that mean that you're essentially replaceable?" What? The king shook. "Are replaceable? And considering the fact that you haven't done anything impressive since becoming king, I'm not even sure we would realize you disappeared unless someone announced it." "No one would realize?" the king repeated with a blank look. "Oh no," the Wizard King said, seeing the look of realization dawning on the king's face. A/N, Grim's most dangerous weapon, his ability to speak. "And even if we realized it, would the kingdom really stop functioning? Like if the Wizard King suddenly vanished, that'd put a dent in our country's fighting force and could open us to invasions from the other neighboring countries. Same thing for Magic Knight squads. But if you vanished, what would change? Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Our military might would stay the same. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Our economy wouldn't be hurt. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Our citizens wouldn't suffer. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. At the end of the day, doesn't this prove that you are insignificant? Asterisk boom. Asterisk asterisk boom. Asterisk asterisk boom. Asterisk. As if a series of explosions went off in his heart, the king gripped his chest as his face turned deathly white. "Ah ha ha ah ha ha ha, This kid's hilarious. Jack laughed. How crass. Nozel said, closing his eyes. Ahem. Julius coughed loudly. A/N, he's been coughing a lot lately. Actually, the reason the king's here today is because he has some important news to announce. Hit hard by Grimm's words, the king was no longer in the mood to speak to his citizens as he threw Julius a tired look and simply left the way he came while everyone watched. I guess I'll do it then. The Wizard King said to himself. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Grimm was honestly just spitting facts. Don't know why the king got so depressed, lol. Chapter 83, Interrogation. After watching the Clover King slump away, Julius announced that due to the attacks received from the Eye of the Midnight Sun that they would now be going on the offensive since they've discovered their base of operations. But in order to do that, the kingdom will be choosing from the strongest and most talented magic knights from each squad in order to form a powerful offensive unit called the Royal Knights. For Grimm, who was on the stage listening to all this, he honestly couldn't care less about the name. But the part that caught his attention was the examination they'd be having a week later. Apparently only those capable of passing the examination would be allowed to join the ranks of the Royal Knights. But even better than that was the fact that every magic knight was included in this examination. Meaning that Grimm could finally compete against the knights that weren't at the base when he attacked. And to make matters even better, now that they recognized who he was sure that they'd be gunning for him. Just the thought of so many people to break made his body tremble with excitement. A/N, yab, he still has issues. Oi, what the fuck is this? Sitting in a darkened room with his hands restrained by magic-depleting handcuffs, Grimm found himself sitting at the opposite end of a table facing the smiling Wizard King. Hello, Grimm. The king smiled. Not in the mood to be in the same room with someone absurdly stronger than him who he knows could beat him without breaking a sweat, Grimm kept his sentences short and to the point. Why am I here? Seeing the frown on his face, the Wizard King showed off a gentle smile and explained the situation to him slowly. Well, after that little show you put on in front of our citizens, don't you think it's only natural that you're sitting here? Show? Yes, where you admitted to attacking your own country's bases and sending several of them to the hospital. Not to mention that you publicly disrespected our king. If any other noble was here, your head would have already been rolling by now. Grimm looked at him puzzled before quickly regaining his posture. First of all, the Clover Kingdom ain't my country, it just so happens to be the place I'm chilling at until I get bored. Second of all, those people sent themselves to the hospital the moment they attacked me, it was purely self-defense on my part. Third of all, and this is the one you should pay attention to the most, the only reason I'm in these handcuffs is because you were on the scene. If any other person even attempted to touch me, well, I would be covered in blood at the moment, and trust me when I say it wouldn't be mine. A/N, unless it was a captain, but let's not talk about that. Looking at the smug look on Grimm's face, the Wizard King sighed before smiling again. Do you know why we're having this conversation? Because you can't imprison me without causing public outrage. No, while that may happen, it wouldn't take too long to quell the voices of the people by giving them something more interesting to look at. No, Grimm, the reason we're having this conversation is because I want you to join the Royal Knights. What? Grimm said, surprised by the answer. I want you to join the competition. The king repeated. I mean, I was gonna do it anyway, so, okay. Well, this was a waste of time. Of course this comes with a condition. Of course it does. Annoyed at having to sit alone in a room with the Wizard King, Grimm frowned but kept the conversation going. What condition? Seeing Grimm basically agree, the smile on the Wizard King's face grew wider. You have to let me see everything your magic can do. He said, slamming his hands onto the table and jumping up from his seat. I mean demon-slaying magic. I've never heard of it before. And then there's the fact that you can use multiple elements. Arg. I'm so curious that I just gotta know more. Show me. Show me. Show me. By this point, the king had somehow managed to crawl over the table and was now looking at Grimm with stars in his eyes. What the fuck? Sure. Was the only response capable of coming out of Grimm's mouth. Haha, yes. The Wizard King cheered. Wait a second. Was this his goal all along? Walking out of the castle mentally drained after showing off his magic to the Wizard King, Grimm came upon an unexpected scene of that ginger-haired woman from the stage and the rest of the Crimson Lions following behind her. But what really caught his attention was the fact that Asta, Yuno, Noel, Yami, and Captain Charlotte were being carried around by flaming tiger paws made from the ginger-haired woman's mana. I wonder when seeing such sights became so normal. A/N, around the time he joined the Black Bulls. Feeling someone's gaze land on her, the ginger-haired woman turned to face the lone standing Grimm. Boom. Unleashing their fire magic, both Grimm and the ginger-haired woman had blazing auras surrounding their bodies. Utilizing Breath of Flames and her fire magic, the temperature in the surrounding area rose to such a degree that Yami and the others could see their skin drying at a visible pace. HOH. Feeling the heat radiating off of him, Mereoleona found herself taking a proper look at the boy. That's some good heat you got there. Hearing her compliment, Grimm couldn't help but smirk at her. Right back at Cha. He grinned. Smiling at each other, the two raised the temperature to the point that the sweat on the Asta and the others were starting to steam. Incredible. Grimm thought to himself. Even though he was using Breath of Flames to boost his resilience to fire-based magic, he was speechless at the fact that he was starting to sweat. Even with my resilience, she's able to make me feel the rising heat. This woman is on a whole different level compared to the other captains. He thought that the biggest obstacle in his way to being the strongest being in this world was the captains and the Wizard King, but now it seemed that a new challenger had appeared. Without his knowledge, Grimm's smile was growing wider and wider as his mana started to surge. Swoosh. Burning brightly, the fiery aura around his body started pulsing as a wave of hot air hit Asta and the others. Hot, hot, hot. Asta yelped while Yuno frowned, doing his best to conceal his sweat. This crazy kid wants to challenge this damn lioness while I'm around. Yami cursed in his head. While he wasn't worried about Grimm hurting him, he couldn't say the same for Mereoleona. Ah! Feeling Grimm's aura rise, Mereoleona found herself grinning as her own aura started raising. Roar. Appearing behind her, a phantom lioness made out of fire emerged and roared towards the fearless Grimm. Seeing the phantom image, Grimm was forced to take a step back as the roar contained what felt like an unstoppable force. He was forced to take a step back. Noelle, Asta, and Yuno looked at Grimm in shock. While they could imagine just how powerful Mereoleona was from the way she handled Yami and Charlotte, to see Grimm actually take a step back from her merely releasing her aura was jaw-dropping. This woman. I want to fight her. Creator's thoughts. Errata. This chapter was meant to be out earlier, but I updated my laptop and now it can't find a Wi-Fi signal for some reason, so yeah, there goes me working on that for a while. Literally had to write this chapter on my phone. My fucking phone. Do you have any idea how annoying that is? But that's besides the point. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 is out, despite its current issues, and I have a new gaming laptop coming on Tuesday. And while I might fail my coursework, highly likely at this point, I won't let that get me down. Anyway, see y'all next CHP. Chapter 84, Burning Bright. Whilst Yami and the others felt like they had been plunged into the depths of purgatory, Grimm and Mereoleona kept their competition going. What's wrong, boy? Mereoleona grinned. Can't take the heat. Says the one sweating more than a whore in a church. Grimm grinned back, seeing that she was also sweating. While it may be true that he was drenched at the moment, the fact that Mereoleona wasn't having an easy time was enough to make him continue this insane competition. Het, you're the first person to insult me without getting beaten straight away. Be proud of that achievement. So what you're saying is I'm your first. He smiled and pushed Breath of Flames even further. Well, since we're trading firsts, I should probably let you know that you're the first person to make me want to go even further with this fire magic of mine. Is that so? Mereoleona smirked, releasing an even greater wave of fire-based mana that blew strong gusts of hot air towards Grimm. Watching her fiery aura grow to an even larger extent and feeling his skin start to sting, Grimm was forced to put his arms up to help block the hot air that was pushing him back. So this is true fire magic. Just based on this pressure alone, it looks like Captain Fuegoleon still has a ways to go. What's wrong, boy? Mereoleona laughed. I thought you'd be able to handle more than this. Is she mocking me? Ha. Ha. Ha 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 ha. Grimm suddenly burst out into a fit of deranged laughter. Did I fry his brain? What's so funny? Mereoleona questioned while the others who weren't part of the Black Bulls looked at Grimm with confusion. Oh, it's nothing. He chuckled, planting his feet firmly onto the ground. It's just that, this is the first time a woman's ever made me feel like this. What? Noelle and the Crimson Lions said in unison. ignoring them and keeping his eyes trained solely on Mereoleona's figure. That fire of yours, it's wild, untamed, savage. So what? Hearing her question, the smile on Grimm's face started to widen once more. I've never tried this before, but with my current level of mana control and with someone demonstrating what a wildfire looks like, this is the perfect time to put this to the test. While proficient in using Breath of Flames, if compared to something like Breath of the Beast, Grimm's achievements in this magic would seem pitiful. But with someone like Mereoleona standing before him and challenging him with an element that he uses, Grimm couldn't help but want to trample over the magic she was so proud of. So to this end Grimm was even willing to try something dangerous and untested. Watch closely, I'm about to surpass my limits. Closing his eyes, the fiery aura around Grimm started to calm down and lose its wild nature. What's this? Your flames growing smaller. Is this what you call surpassing your limits? Mereoleona laughed. Ignoring her, Grimm could feel the blood running through his veins. Remembering the salamander and the uncontrollable fire it released during its attack on the witch's forest, a small smile crept onto Grimm's face as his fiery aura weakened to the point that it became a thinly coated aura around his body. It was only after watching as Mereoleona's fiery aura that started covering on the whole area and swallow up Grimm's figure that Asta and the others started to panic. Grimm! They screamed as they saw Mereoleona's flames devour him. TCH, there goes one of my subpar subordinates. Yami muttered. I'll drink to his memory. Shut up, will ye? Mereoleona snapped while looking in the direction Grimm's figure had vanished. I might not know this kid like the rest of you do, but... Earlier I said that I would surpass my limits, didn't I? Grimm's voice erupted from inside the flames. Grimm! Noelle and the others gasped hearing his voice. Still kicking at? Mereoleona smiled. Let me rephrase my earlier statement, I'm not only going to surpass my limits, I'm gonna go even further beyond. A/N, is that you, Gaku? Feeling the air around them tremble, an astonishing amount of mana gathered around the area Grimm's voice was coming from until... Boom. A bright blue light burst out pushing Mereoleona's flames back. What? Everyone's eyes went wide. Mereoleona looked on in interest, unconcerned that her flames had been pushed back. This blue light? Noelle muttered. Is this his water magic? No, this feeling, it's similar to Mereoleona's fire magic, but at the same time it feels completely different. What did you do, Grimm? Creating a safe area within Mereoleona's aura of flames, standing bare-chested and surrounded by a fiery blue aura, Grimm's figure was revealed to all. Blue flames. Everyone's eyes widened as blue flames danced around Grimm's figure. I see. Mereoleona said, staring at him from her location. Using his newly acquired level of mana control, his experience of using fire magic and Mereoleona's demonstration of untamed fire in front of him, Grimm was able to combine all three of these elements to understand his own fire magic, and instead of letting that power run wild like he normally would, he restrained that power and used his mana to up the concentration of heat within his flames, causing them to turn blue and surpass his previous flames. He has blue flames. Leopold muttered absent-mindedly. His control of mana surpasses mine, dealing with him in my current state will be difficult. Yuno observed. So you managed to control your flames and ignite that fire within you. Not bad. This might even become fun now. Become fun? This bitch is still looking down on me. When your flames were getting smaller and it looked like you were being swallowed by my aura, you were just making your flame smaller in order to gain better control over it, weren't you? Mereoleona asked. Who knows? He shrugged. Straight to the point, a man after my own heart. Clenching her fists, Mereoleona's aura started rising again. Ready for round 2. Bring it. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Blue flames motherfuckers. LOL. Only reason Grimm was able to create consistent blue flames is because of his mana control, experience with fire magic, and Mereoleona's demonstration that showed him what not to do. Not that Mereoleona is wrong in her way of utilizing mana, it's just different a style to Grimm's. Plus he has the mana capacity to keep his flames blue for a lot longer than she would. Good thing he wished for that elven blood. Chapter 85, Volcano. Boom. Unleashing the full force of their mana potential, the sound of explosions rung through the air as intense waves of heat was blown in all directions. While Mereoleona's flames were wild and uncontrollable, Grimm's blue flames were controlled and hotter, allowing him to compete with this lioness. Ha 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 ha. The two laughed as the pavement was starting to melt from the sheer clash of their flame mana. Not bad. But let's take this a step further. Hearing Mereoleona's comment, Noelle and Leopold looked at the two of them with horror. Just the pressure from their mana is already melting the surrounding area. If these two actually started firing off spells, then this whole area might have been vaporized by now. You want to take this higher? Grim laughed, holding his ground and surrounded by a blue flame aura. Then let's take this higher. Hearing the words from these two psychopaths, even the ever-chill Yami began to worry. Shit, how long are these two gonna go at it? I really need to take a dump. Charlotte on the other hand was astonished by Grim's performance. While she couldn't gauge his combat ability from this encounter, just the fact that he was able to withstand Mereoleona's mana was a feat in itself. Raising the heat even further, the mages behind Mereoleona found that it was beginning to get harder and harder to breathe. One of the Crimson Lion members even passed out from the lack of oxygen. With the increased humidity and evaporating sweat combined with the current lack of moisture in the air, more and more magic knights started going weak in the legs. Realizing that something was wrong, Mereoleona, who was just beginning to tap into Grim's fire magic potential, abruptly withdrew her aura. What? Seeing the fiery aura rescind, a confused Grim watched as Mereoleona went to check up on the magic knights before turning back to him. Sorry kid, but if we go any further we might end up killing someone. Taken aback by her words, Grim's lust for battle couldn't handle stopping midway as he snapped back with some harsh words. Who gives a flying fuck about them? If they're weak enough to die from something like this, then they don't deserve to call themselves knights. And besides, I'm not satisfied yet. Grim. Noelle whispered as she looked at him with shocked eyes. While he might not have singled her out specifically, the Grim she was looking at right now only seemed to have eyes for Mereoleona. If anything, he probably couldn't even see her or Asta at the moment. Not satisfied yet? Mereoleona smiled. Well, come with me and I'll satisfy you to your heart's content. What? I know a place where we can go and won't be disturbed. So what ya say? Wanna go on a trip? Clenching his fists, Grim stared hard at Mereoleona. After a minute had passed, the surrounding blue aura rescinded back into his body as he took on a calmer demeanor. Let's go. Seeing him agree, Mereoleona picked up an unconscious Crimson Lion member and slung him over her shoulder before pointing to the distance. Now then, let's go enjoy a hot spring. Surrounded by lava and rocks all around them, Asta, Yuno, Noelle, Yami, Charlotte and Leopold stared at a currently active volcano with expressions filled with shock and confusion. What happened to the hot springs? Grim on the other hand had no words. After all, he'd spent nearly 5 years training in a magic beast-infested forest, fought against a race that was thought to be extinct, conversed with an alternate version of himself that was living in his mind, and made a king contemplate the meaning of his existence. A volcano was nothing in comparison. A/N, facts. Welcome to the old-time volcano. Mereoleona announced to the group as the volcano erupted behind her. Due to the powerful mana embedded deep underground, this beast of a volcano is constantly spewing out lava to the point that no ordinary human could possibly reach its summit. But that just makes reaching its summit all the more satisfying. So how about it? Bet you're all so excited, you can't wait to tackle this beast. Now then, let's head for the top. While everyone was musing over how crazy this whole situation was, Leopold was looking at the volcano with stars in his eyes. If I can reach the summit, I'll definitely become stronger. Hey Asta, let's make this a competition, whoever reaches the top first wins. Ignoring the surrounding chatter, Grim turned to face Mereoleona with fire in his eyes. Sensing his gaze, the lioness faced him. So what ya say? Up for a little hot spring soak? I came here to fight, not mess around in some stupid contest. Ha! You're a real interesting one. She laughed. But as much as I want to fight, you're just not on my level yet. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Upon hearing her words, the fires that he had been restraining burst out in a wonderful blue fury. Through grit teeth and blue flames, he looked to the Crimson Lion's current captain and in a deep voice he said. Say that again. This fire, it's hotter than it was in town. Has he been practicing while we were coming here? Noticing that Grim's flames had somehow gotten a little bit more hotter, Mereoleona felt her own battle lust rising. Oi you lot! She shouted to the others. If you don't want to get incinerated, you better get as far away from here as possible. What? Unable to understand what she meant, the faces of everyone fell as Mereoleona released enough fire magic to scorch their skin despite them not being in contact with the flames. Time to go. Watching as everyone ran away, Mereoleona's attention focused solely on Grimm's figure. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Running as far and fast as they could, the echoes of Grimm's and Mereoleona's battle reverberated through the air as several explosions caused the already wild mana in the volcano area to become even more violent. What the hell, how are we meant to scale this thing in these conditions? A random member of the Crimson Lions cursed. Bursting forward and separating themselves from the rest, Yami and Charlotte shot into the distance. Trading blow after blow, the two magic knights turned the surrounding area into a meteor-sized crater as blue and orange flames crashed against each other. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Thrown back by one of Mereoleona's punches, the flame sword in Grimm's hand shattered into pieces as he was sent flying backwards. Concentrating on his fire magic, the blue aura around his body molded itself into the shape of a gas fire torch used on a modern-day gas stove. Asterisk huff. Asterisk asterisk huff. Asterisk. Slowing his backwards momentum with his ability to fly, Grimm barely managed to catch his breath and materialize a new flame sword as Mereoleona burst through a smoke cloud above him with a flaming fist centimeters away from his face. Shit! Calidus brachium! She screamed as her fist made contact with the ground, sending several cracks throughout the crater and causing spouts of lava to burst through. HOH? Didn't think you would be able to dodge that one, not bad little cub. Landing several meters away, Grimm's clothes were damp from the excessive amount of sweat his body was releasing. His breathing had long since become ragged as his grip tightened on his sword hilt. And for the first time since experiencing a fight in this world, the smile that was usually on Grimm's face started to falter. Compared to every other opponent he had faced, Mereoleona was truly something else. Even with his knowledge gained from fighting Yami, he never felt overwhelmed to such a state. If he fought Yami seriously, he knew that by the end of it he wouldn't even know how he died. Mereoleona on the other hand was the complete opposite. If she fought him seriously he'd know exactly how he died. Unlike Yami who'd probably split his body in half with his katana, Mereoleona was more straightforward. Instead of a quick death like with Yami, she would use blunt force to mercilessly beat him to death. Ha! Ha! Ha 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 ha! This is it. The challenge I've always wanted. Unable to hold it in any longer, the crazed look within Grimm's eyes started to shine. Seeing that look in his eye, Mereoleona couldn't help but compliment him. That's a nice look you got there. I gotta say, for a little cub you're almost perfect. Perfect? Bitch, I'm flawless. Unleashing more of his blue flames, he condensed and compressed them under the solace of his feet. Breath of the blue flame, first form, unknowing fire. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Bursting forward with astounding speed and covered in blue flames, Grimm's figure shot towards the grinning lioness. While Grimm was busy fighting another battle maniac, Asta found himself alone and struggling against the volcano's blazing heat. Damn it! Everyone's already figured out this Monoskin thing and gone on ahead. Covered in sweat and breathing heavily, Asta looked up at the towering volcano and felt his legs go weak. Fuck. A/N, ha. Looks like Grimm's influence is spreading to Asta. What's that sound? Looking behind him, a dot in the distance seemed to grow bigger and bigger. The sound of a high-pitched whistle became louder and louder. Is that AP? Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Blowing past him, the dot crashed into the side of the volcano, causing a dozen or so rocks to fall from the top. Cough cough. Coughing loudly and covered in dust and soot, the dot, whose clothes were more or less burnt by this point, crawled out of the hole. Fuck. The woman is ruthless. Oh. Hi Asta. Grimm waved. Creator's thoughts. Errata errata. Devil Union and Spirit of Boreas. How will Grimm match that? And yes, Grimm got bodied hard. Chapter 86, Round 3. How but you were at? Confused by how Grimm had gotten all the way over here despite being a mile or so behind him, Asta tried to rationalize this whole event without taking into account the fact that Grimm had been slammed into the side of the volcano. Seeing him struggle to work it out, Grimm sighed and pried himself up and out of the dent he had made, brushed himself off and prepared to head back towards the direction he had been sent flying from. Don't worry about it. Immediately after saying that, he coughed up 5 mouthfuls of blood and fell face first onto the ground. Ow! Holy crap! Asta exclaimed and ran to his side. Are you okay? Just peachy, but you know what'd make me feel even better, Asta? What? That small bottle of the bitch queen's magic blood that can heal any injury. You know the one, right? The one you gave to your seamen, pun intended, friends without my permission? It'd be real handy right about now. Oh A/N, the salt is real. Before Asta could answer, Mereoleona's booming voice sounded out from above them. You done already? Hey! Looking up into the air, the sight of Mereoleona falling towards them at an alarming speed. Oh shit! Asterisk bang! Asterisk. Landing heavily, she created a small crater and sent dust and smoke blowing everywhere. Whew, now then, round 3. She said while looking at the downed Grim. Yep, just give me a minute blurg. Before finishing his sentence, he threw up a couple more mouthfuls of blood. Fuck. How did a single punch do so much damage to me? Cough cough. Coughing up chunks of blood, Grim managed to crawl onto his feet and show off a bloody smile. Ready? He said with unsteady feet. Looking at the clearly exhausted Grim, Asta and Mereoleona's eyes met briefly before Mereoleona turned back to Grim. Well then, if you want to continue, meet me at the top of the volcano. And before giving Grim a chance to say anything, she charged into the distance and vanished from sight. Seeing her leave, Grim breathed a sigh of relief. While he wanted to continue, he wasn't sure his body could handle it. Ha, so that's how you wanna play it? Grim. Asta called out. You okay? I'm great. He said with a wild grin on his face as he wiped away the leftover traces of blood off his lips. He. He chuckled while staring at the top of the volcano and tightening his fists. Time to tame a lioness. Closing his eyes, Grim switched to Breath of the Beast. After letting that wind mage from the Eye of the Midnight Sun poke several holes in his body back in the capital, Grim had discovered that all his magic types had an extra attribute that he hadn't known about beforehand. As it turned out, no matter which style of magic he was using, he was actually capable of clotting wounds from severe injuries and slowing down the circulation of poison in his bloodstream. But for some reason it was most effective whenever he had Breath of the Beast active. Not to mention that he was basically immune to poisons when using that style. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Snapping his eyes open, the ground beneath his feet cracked and shattered from the force being emitted from the blue flames that had gathered around him once more. Changing styles again, he slowly started levitating off the ground. Oi Asta! He called out without looking back at him. Hurry up and figure out how to use that black form of yours, my standard for sparring partners has risen recently. And with that, in a burst of blue light he shot through the air and towards the top of the volcano, leaving blue fire embers trailing behind him. Hey Yuno, let's go on a date after this. Ignoring the wind spirit sitting on his shoulder, Yuno, who was currently flying through the air while maintaining his mana skin, felt a huge explosion of mana behind him. What th? Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Bursting past him at an alarming rate, a pumped-up Grim blew past him, ignoring his person entirely and messing up his hair in the process. He can fly. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Cloaked in blue flames and flying so fast that he constantly broke the speed barrier, the grin on Grim's face wouldn't let up. Ha 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 ha. He laughed madly while shooting down towards Mereoleona, who was standing on a rock float in the middle of the currently active volcano. Round 3 bitch. Breath of Blue Flames, 9th form, Rengoku. Pouring a large amount of mana into his new blade and holding it above his hand as he dived downwards, he slashed the burning blade down towards the smiling Mereoleona and released a white-hot beam of concentrated fire. Smiling at his attempt, the ferocious captain of the Crimson Lions kicked off the rock with enough explosive force to shoot her through the air and charged towards the beam with her flaming fists active. Flame magic, Calidus Brachium. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Colliding with the beam with nothing but her fist, a earth-shaking explosion rung out as a terrifying shockwave threatened to wake up all the magic life forms living on this volcano. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Bursting through the dust cloud that the impact had created, Mereoleona, who barely had a scuff mark on her, charged towards the diving Grim with a scary smile on her face. That's not all you've got, right? As the two closed in on the other, Grimm's fiery blue aura transformed into a calming blue one. Hey! Breath of water, third form, flowing dance. Unaware that Grimm was capable of changing magic attributes, Mereoleona was caught off guard as Grimm somehow managed to swerve past her punch and get behind her. Breath of wind, first form, dust whirlwind cutter. Surrounded by high-speed rotating wind blades that covered him from head to toe, Grimm aimed the attack at her back. But to his surprise, Mereoleona kicked off the air, allowing her evade the attack and closing in on Grimm. Activating flowing dance at the last second, he barely managed to avoid being sent flying by another flaming fist. Breath of thunder, third form, thunder swarm. Whistle. So it was more than just one type of magic type. Hey! Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Coating herself and expanding her fiery aura, the rotating thunder clashed with her aura and quickly dissipated. But that was all part of Grimm's plan. While she was focusing on his thunder swarm, Grimm had changed back to his blue flames and used the opportunity in which she was distracted to use his heightened fire resistance to break through her aura and appear in front of her with his sword thrusting towards her throat. I win. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Arg. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Detonating her aura while Grimm was mere centimeters away from her, the black-haired boy was sent hurtling downwards and crashed through several layers of the outer area of the volcano until he was good and buried. Standing in the air, a proud-looking felt a bit of wetness of her cheek. Touching it with her fingers, a hint of surprise flashed through her eyes as her finger was stained red from a shallow cut. Not bad, cub. She smiled. Arg. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. A/N, he's gone Super Saiyan, lol. What now? While Grimm and Mereoleona had been fighting, Yami, who was smoking a cig, and Charlotte, who was trying not to pass out from being so close to Yami, were both watching the fight with minor interest. Buried several feet into the volcano, an animalistic roar sounded out as blue light escaped the cracks before completely exploding and blowing away the rocks he was buried under. He's still capable of fighting. How fun! Lowering herself down onto one of the floating rocks on top of the lava, Mereoleona closed her eyes and waited for his return. Unwilling to end things now, from deep underground Grimm's aura shot into the sky as his flames swept away everything in its path. Something really is wrong with this kid. Making his way back up to the surface bathed in a sea of blue flames, Grimm sent several rocks around him flying as his grimoire flew next to him, showing a new page. Ignoring the book, Grimm's eyes were trained on a certain lioness as he flew over and landed on a floating rock opposite her. Not saying a word, Mereoleona's eye snapped open as the image of a flaming lioness emerged behind her. Feeling his battle lust being stimulated, Grimm's grimoire started shining brightly as the image of a flaming blue tiger emerged behind his back. Breath of blue flames, fifth form, flaming tiger. Hat, to think I thought you were lion's cub, turns out you're a little tiger. Smiling at her words, Grimm's flaming tiger released a roar that gently shook the top of the volcano. What can I say? He grinned. When it comes to lions, only the females are capable of hunting right. My magic simply reflects the superior male creature that I am. While saying this, he not so subtly indicated to his tiger. A/N, it truly astounds me that Grimm can get his ass handed to him but Kem still acts so arrogantly. Actually, it doesn't. Hearing his words, Mereoleona's aura skyrocketed as even Yami and Charlotte started to focus on the situation. Aw shit, look like she's actually gonna kill him this time. Raising his own aura, Grimm's body started to overflow with battle intent. Say that again. Make me. He grinned. But just as these two were about to get it on, a familiar scream rang through the air. Warg! Help me! I can't stop. Looking up at the sky, Asta, who had somehow entered into his black form, was heading straight towards Grimm's figure. Remembering how Asta's sword seemed to be attracted to the thing with the highest amount of mana, Grimm couldn't help but say. Oh fuck! Asterisk boom! Asterisk! Creator's thoughts. Errata. Honestly don't think Grimm did that bad. While Mereoleona was holding back throughout all 3 rounds of their conflict, Grimm did manage to scratch her and not end up in the hospital. I call that a win. And too bad, Asta interrupted, y'all missed witnessing Grimm getting his ass beat. As if anyone actually wants to see that. But yet, Grimm ain't captain level yet, but he's progressed enough to leave a mark on someone like Mereoleona. Not a huge feat in the grand scheme of things, but still impressive. Chapter 87, Real Men. Switching to Breath of Water at the last minute, Grim narrowly evaded Asta's mana homing sword and responded in kind by switching to Breath of Wind and creating an air bomb in the middle of his palm. Using that rotating orb of compressed wind magic, he slammed it into Asta's side and sent him flying into the distance before he could sink both of them into the magma. A/N, LOL, Grim pulled a Minato. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Releasing all the stored-up wind magic the moment the orb touched Asta's body, a powerful wind explosion occurred that caused the spectating Yami, Charlotte, and Mereoleona to cover their faces from the gusts. Ugh. TCH, how annoying. By the time the explosion had died down and after watching Asta get sent flying away, the previous battle intent that both Grim and Mereoleona had accumulated had subsequently simmered. Having Asta interrupt really ruined the mood and the two of them felt like the moment had passed. A/N, damn you Asta. Took you lot long enough. Now who's ready for the hot spring? Yet. Watching Mereoleona raise the spirits of the recently arrived Crimson Lions, Grim stood in the background next to Yami with a deadpan look on his face. After the interruption caused by Asta, he felt like his fight with the raging lioness had yet to be completed and this left him with a feeling of emptiness. While Grim was thinking about this, Asta stood next to Yuno grinning like an idiot over the fact that he had consciously entered his black form. Looking up at the darkened sky, Grim realized that night had fallen and the volcano seemed to have calmed down. Weird. All right you lousy lot. You have my permission to bathe in the hot spring. Mereoleona barked. Walking to the edge and looking into the area where the hot spring was supposed to be, Grim's face made a complicated expression. You call that puddle a hot spring? No sooner after he had said those words did steamy hot water burst from the puddle, turning the entire area into a naturally formed hot spring. Whoa! Awesome! Cool! Seeing the hot spring form, Asta and the other Crimson Lions looked on with starry eyes while Mereoleona looked at Grim with a smug face. This bitch! While everyone was amazed at the sight in front of them, Sol, a member of the Blue Roses that Grim had previously fought when he raided their hideout, was having different thoughts. Haul up! There are men and women here. Don't tell me that Lady Mereoleona wants us all to bathe together. No no no! She abruptly shouted, catching everyone off guard. Men are absolutely not allowed to see Sis's clean and chaste body. Why does this bitch seem like someone who would enjoy the witch's forest? Not getting an answer to his question, Sol's grimoire flashed open as she created a earth wall that divided the hot spring into two parts. All right everyone! Into the water! Mereoleona yelled. Hell yeah! Inside the hot spring! Think you're so friggin' cool, huh? Well, try this heat on for size. Standing in front of Yuno, Leo was actively heating up the water and trying to break Yuno's cool guy facade. What are you talking about? Did you raise the heat or something? Yuno said smugly while sweating intensely. Sitting at the side, Grim watched them while recalling his fight with Mereoleona. Finally having a moment to think about it, he realized that he had made quite a few rookie mistakes. But more than that, he realized just how exceptional Ms. Lioness really was. Throughout the entire fight she had only used a single spell. Even Yami had to use 2 or 3 when fighting him, but she managed to completely dominate him using one spell. Why are all the people I'm meeting just getting stronger and stronger? It was a shame that he was unable to continue his fight with her as he felt that he was improving at a rapid pace. Compared to the second fight he had with her, in their third round he was at least able to leave a mark on her. Ha, well there'll be time in the future. Closing his eyes, a look of satisfaction finally formed. After battling her he had learned quite a few things. But the biggest thing he was able to take away from the experience was his new fire magic spell Flame Tiger. After acquiring this spell he finally understood why his lightning magic had been so stagnant over the past 6 months. Similar to his fire magic which was also growing stagnant, he simply needed to be hit by magic that vastly exceeded his current elemental resistance. Mereoleona's flames were hot enough to make him to sweat, getting hit by her naturally caused his masochistic ability to gain new spells to activate. So I just need to get hit by someone whose lightning magic is stronger than Lux Hui. Guess I better start searching. Oi Grim! Yami called out. Stop daydreaming, we're about to go peeking. He pointed at the earth wall. What? Several of the Crimson Lions looked at him horrified. Are you crazy? Do you want to kill us? Quit making excuses. Yami snapped. If you were born a man, then this is something you must do. Even if it costs you your life. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. As if an explosion went off in their brains, a look of realization flashed onto the faces of the Crimson Lions. So this is what it means to be a man. As Yami opened his mouth to continue speaking about how peeking on a woman's naked body was a sacred rite of passage for all men, holy music seemed to descend from the heavens as the light of the moon bathed Yami in its glow. A/N, WTF LOL. No matter what kind of man you are, it's all the same. You want to see them too, don't you, Mr. Cool? Not really. Seeing Yami look at him, Yuno quickly turned his head to the side as to not look suspicious. Is that so? Grabbing onto Yuno's head and beginning to squeeze, Yami began to go all gangsta on him. Think you're too good to peek with us, huh, you little shit stain? Please stop, Captain Yami. Asta jumped in, trying to defend his childhood friend and rival. Yuno really doesn't want to see. Ever since he was a child he's only taken baths with other men. Hearing Asta say that, everyone's expressions changed when they looked at Yuno. Seeing their expressions, a throbbing vein appeared on Yuno's forehead. Asta, you bastard! You really picked the worst way to phrase that. Ignoring what they were saying, Leo was thinking about what his brother would do in this situation. My brother is the manliest man I know, would he peek? No. Leo suddenly yelled. My brother wouldn't condone these types of actions. In fact, it'd probably send him into a rage and he'd try to stop us. What the hell are you talking about? Shouldn't you be aiming to surpass your brother? Why would you copy something he would do? Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Feeling a second explosion going off in his mind for the second time today, Leo jumped out of the water and led the charge. Let's see some titties. Hell yeah! Everyone else screamed and followed behind him. Why are you all getting so fired up? And one of those girls are related to you, Leo. Oi, Grim. Yami called. You coming or what? Thinking about it now, Grim was quite curious about the naked body of the woman who was able to beat him. Of course, seeing the other girls naked would be a nice bonus. I'm in. He nodded and stood up. Argh. Save me. Forgive me. Forgive me. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Watching the Crimson Lions getting tossed and beaten by the girls, Grim stood high in the air watching the bouncy parts of the naked women jiggle. Noelle's got a decent rack. Who would have guessed? Sigh, if I knew it would have been like this I would have invited Vanessa and Mimosa. Maybe Rebecca as well. Rating the girls in his mind, Grim was struggling to decide whether Charlotte or Mereoleona was number one. For God's sake, save us. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Finally got some time to write a CHP. And damn, to think I'd do it on the day that OP13 officially comes out and the first EP of the post-time skip is here. Finally got to see the C Asta animated. Well, hope everyone enjoyed this CHP cause we got the Royal Knights tournament next. Chapter 88, Power Difference. Yawn. Finally time, hey. After the hot spring training trip, Grim and the others had gotten a couple of days to relax and prepare for the Royal Knights examination. Of course, Grim and Asta used this time to train themselves up. For Asta it was about finding his limit to his black form, for Grim it was all about his speed in switching between styles. Ever since his fight with Mereoleona, he realized that he could have done more damage if he was faster at switching between magic types more fluently. This led to him arriving at the meeting area slightly more tired than the other magic knights. Not to mention how Yami coerced him into drinking with him and Vanessa all night, leading to him having an annoying hangover. Yawn. Wearing the shades he won from his gambling game with Yami all those months ago, Grim felt like they helped block out the intense rays of sunlight. Hearing him let out another yawn, the magic knights standing around him started to become more and more annoyed as they waited for the Wizard King. Can you stop that? One magic knight from the Purple Orcas finally snapped after hearing him yawn for the 5th time in a row. Turning his head in the direction of the voice's origin, Grim saw that he didn't recognize the person and blew him off with a simple but tired fuck off. You. Enraged by Grim's words and having never experienced a fighting him before him nor recognizing him from the Magic Knight base attacking incident, the Purple Orca member raised his arm and was about to fire off a spell towards the tired-looking Grim. Before he could do so, a girl with orangey brown hair stood in front of his hand, forcing him to cancel the spell unless he wanted to hit her. Please excuse his language. The girl suddenly bowed to the Magic Knight while apologizing on Grim's behalf. Caught off guard by the girl's actions, the Magic Knight momentarily halted the activation of his magic. It was just a shame that he reactivated it once he heard Grim's voice again. Oi Mimosa, don't lower your head when speaking to trash. Having heard enough, the man pushed past Mimosa and grabbed Grim by his collar. Who you calling trash peasant? Whoa, don't tell me this is another noble that I have yet to meet. Seeing the rage-filled expression on the guy's face, he gathered a lot of saliva in his mouth and 2. Spat in his face. Hands off, retard. Argh. The man suddenly screamed in rage as he felt Grim's saliva running down the side of his face. Oh no was the only words running through Mimosa's head as she flashed back to Grim's actions during the noble gathering from all those months ago. Smiling at the man's actions, Grim gently held onto his wrists and used that breath of the beast enhancing strength to slowly crack. Crush the magic knight's bones with ease. Feeling an intense pain shoot through his wrists and up into the rest of his body, the man wanted to scream and pull his hands away before things got even worse. But before he could open his mouth to scream, Grim made sure that his hands were still wrapped around his collar to make him look like the aggressor before quickly headbutting the magic knight to stop him from screaming. Watching the man's legs buckle and fall to his knees due to the sheer amount of intense pain wrecking his wrists, Grim couldn't help but grin with sadistic glee. How long has it been since I felt this? After facing the eye of the midnight sun, the bitch queen, Yami, and Mereoleona, Grim had briefly forgotten the joy in stepping on those weaker than him and plunging them into lifelong despair. Unable to conceal it any longer, the look in Grim's eyes started to frighten the current onlookers as many recognized him as the crazy bastard who attacked several magic knight bases with no regard for the consequences. Gripping the man's wrists even tighter to the point that he felt the bones being squashed from his treatment, the magic knight's now audible screams became music to Grim's ears as his face turned slightly red and his breathing became hurried. Oh, how I've missed this feeling. Seeing the orgasmic bliss in Grim's eyes, everyone except an entranced Mimosa looked away. Having never seen this side of Grim before other than that time with the Silva siblings, she found her heart beating faster as a new type of curiosity was born in her. Unaware of the effects his actions were having on the young royal, Grim wondered just how far he could take this. It was just a shame that the sudden arrival of the Wizard King who appeared next to him ended the moment. Could you do me a favor and let him go? Not even sensing that he was next to him, Grim's instincts went into overdrive as he let go of the magic knight's wrists and jumped back before materializing his beast swords and getting into a combat-ready stance. We need to have a little chat. Feeling the Wizard King's hand resting on his shoulder, Grim's eyes went wide as he slowly turned his head to the side and from the corner of his eye he saw the Wizard King standing behind him with a friendly smile plastered across his face. What the fuck was that? He moved so fast that my key-sensing and transparent world couldn't even keep up. While he knew that the Wizard King was a powerhouse that he couldn't beat at the moment, after training himself to the point that he could leave a mark on Mereoleona's face, he still couldn't believe that such a large gap existed between them. Looks like I've still got a long way to go before becoming the strongest existence in this world. While shocked at the difference in power between him and Julius, the thought that he would be able to overcome this power sooner or later caused a terrifying smile to spread across his lips. Creator's thoughts. Errata. Oh shit. Someone flipped Grim's sadist switch. Oh. And who do you guys think Grim should be in a team with? Don't have any ideas at the moment. And it looks like Mimosa is interested in Grim's darker side. What a time to be alive. Chapter 89, Teams. Oi Mr. Wizard King, you're ruining my fun. Is that so? Julius smiled, not removing his hand from Grim's shoulder. Yet. But Grim, if you make trouble here I'm afraid that I'll have to disqualify you before you get a chance to even take part in the exam. Boom. Hearing Julius's words, a shocking amount of bloodlust burst out of his body and was directed solely at the Wizard King. Are you trying to blackmail me? He asked in a deep voice. I wonder. Julius smiled nonchalantly as if he didn't feel the bloodlust directed at him. To think he'd be able to control his bloodlust to the point that only those he directs it at can feel it. How fascinating. Seeing that the Wizard King had no intentions of backing off, Grim was forced to rein in his bloodlust and dematerialize his beast swords. TCH. Brushing his hand off his shoulder, Grim walked away without saying a word. That fucking prick. Just you wait, I'll end you. Still annoyed at having his fun ruined, Grim rejoined Mimosa and the recently arrived Asta and Yuno. Yo Grim. Asta waved when he saw him. Humph. Why'd you come so early? We wanted to come together with you. Noelle scolded while showing a soft expression. Nice to see you again Grim. Klaus greeted like a normal person. Even that quiet kid Yuno gave him a polite nod. While everyone was greeting him, Mimosa, who had also arrived earlier than her squad mates and was aware of the previous events involving Grim and the purple orca, quietly walked up to his side and looked up at him with some worry in her eyes. What did the Wizard King say? Not wanting to think about that fun-ruining bastard any more than need be, he brushed her off with a simple "have fun." Oh. She looked doubtful but then smiled. That's nice of him. Just as Grim was beginning to calm down, the voice of a certain lion brought his anger back up to the brink. Yuno. Asta. Grim. Hehe, I hope you didn't forget about me. Walking up to them with a confident expression was the heir to the Crimson Lions, Leopold Vermilion. Oh great, if it isn't my self-proclaimed rival. At least Asta, in his black form, and that Yuno guy can fly. I hope you guys are ready, cause I'm gonna be the one to take first place in this exam. Rolling his eyes, Grim blocked him out and started looking around the area. Finral dyed his hair. Luck also seems like he's gotten a bit stronger. Too bad that his progress is slower than Asta. I really wanted two good sparring partners. Oh, Magna's here as well, not like it makes any difference though. Turning away from the Black Bull group, he started analyzing the knights from other squads. Punched, stabbed, stomped, kicked, kneed, burned, slashed. Looking at the participants, a couple of their faces looked familiar, as he was pretty sure the majority of them were there when he went base hopping. Oh. Didn't expect these two to be here. Looking over at the Silver Eagle camp, the sight of Solid and Nebra appeared in his eyes, causing his lips to turn upwards. Ahem. If I could have everybody's attention. Hearing the voice, everyone looked in the same direction. Wizard King. They all saluted besides Grim. Smiling at everyone's enthusiasm and ignoring Grim's blatant glare, Julius began his announcement. I see that everyone has gathered. Well then, without any further ado, let's begin explaining the rules behind the Royal Knight Selection exam. Moving to the side slightly, the Clover King appeared behind him but seemed to lack his usual energy. But spoke in a voice so quiet that one could confuse him for a shy child. The fuck happened to him? A/N, you. So we work as a team to destroy the enemy crystal, hey? After listening to the explanation on how this exam would work, Grim couldn't help but feel slightly underwhelmed at the prospects of working with other people. What a shitty exam. How does this help demonstrate our abilities against the Eye of the Midnight Sun? We should be choosing the top combat mages and mixing them in with a small number of healing and defense mages. And as if to answer his thoughts, Julius seemed to look directly at him and say, cooperation and pure power won't be enough to beat our enemy. We thought this type of exam would be the best measure of your strategic abilities. What bullshit! I hope we're on a team together. Mimosa said, giving him a reassuring smile. Before he was able to answer, the results of the teams were published on screen. Where am I? Where am I? Asta repeated while searching for his name. Turning to face the board, Grim was surprised to see who he was matched up with. From the two names that had appeared, he only knew one of them. Selena from the Blue Roses. The one directly responsible for him achieving Breath of Water. Well, ain't that something? He smirked. Grim. Mimosa said, concerned after seeing him smile at that random girl's name. While she definitely wouldn't recognize him, Grim found it amusing that he would be working with someone he had used to power himself up. The last person on his team was some guy by the name of David Swallow. Ha-guy-I-I. While not much was known about the guy, considering he was from the Golden Dawn, he couldn't be that weak, right? I'm with Mimosa. Asta suddenly yelled after seeing Mimosa's name under his. I'm with Yuno. Noel muttered while taking a quick glance at the spirit-chosen Wind Mage. Before any of them could react to their teams, a voice from the sky interrupted them. Hey! Thanks to his transparent world ability, Grim sensed movement in the sky before everyone else and looked up. Sorry I'm late. What they? Dropping down from the sky with his hands in his pockets, a crimson-haired man wearing a black mask, a purple orca magic knight robe and what looked like a weird fetish outfit landed on the stage hard and threw his arms around the Wizard King's shoulder. Sorry for being late, oh mighty Wizard King, please forgive me. Who the hell? Asta started but was interrupted by the man. Zerx Lugner, nice Tommy Cha. He greeted. Zerx Lugner. Wasn't that the guy I beat when I invaded the purple orca base? Not understanding what was going on, Grim looked at this Zerx Lugner and then at Asta's full team. Slowly putting the pieces together, he couldn't help but grin. Looks like this won't be a completely boring exam after all. Creator's thoughts. Errata errata. Finally finished all my work for this semester. Too bad I only have a week off until the second semester starts, but hey. At least I can start reading again. Chapter 90, David and Selena. After getting off the stage and greeting Asta by handing him a stink bug, this fake Zerxlugner took his place among his teammates. Seeing that everyone's teams had been made, Julius coughed loudly to draw everyone's attention. Ahem. Due to there being an uneven number of teams, one team will automatically advance to the next round. Gasps. Whisper. Whisper. Waiting for everyone to quiet down, Julius continued. The team who shall be advancing to the next round will be Team I. Team I. Them. TCH, well I guess that makes sense. Hearing all the mummers around him, the only thought in Grimm's head was who the fuck is Team I? So they're Team I. After searching for Team I's team members on the board, Grimm understood why they were automatically advanced to the next round. Nils Ragus. Ruben Chagar. X. While the team didn't look like much, Grimm guessed that they were able to advance to the next round because of this mysterious X person. It seemed like a couple of the other Magic Knights had figured this out as well. What are you hiding, Wizard King? Seeing Grimm's eyes land on him, the Wizard King showed him a friendly smile before addressing the rest of the Magic Knights. Now then, if you would please step through the portal over there. He pointed to an open door that was connected to a portal. We can now make a start with the exam. Walking through the portal with Asta and the others, the group was brought to an outdoor area filled with forests, sand, and grassy terrains. Oh my god! It's the Crystal Destruction Battle Tournament stage! A random Magic Knight yelled in awe. Really? It is. While everyone was getting hyped over the battlegrounds, Grimm wondered why the people in this world got excited over the smallest things. Once everyone had arrived, Julius called everyone's attention. This battle stage is divided into several different areas so that everyone is able to use their powers to the fullest. And for the sake of fairness, the rounds were decided by us earlier by drawing lots, so if you could pay attention to the board behind me you'll see what team you are and who your opponents are. Looking up at the board, Grimm's face fell when he saw who he was up against. Fucking scrubs again. Of all the people on the enemy team he was up against in the first round, only a girl named Wayne Slay caught his attention. But don't get it twisted, this had nothing to do with her ability as a Magic Knight. If he hadn't heard someone shout her name during the Blue Rose attack incident, he doubted that he would even take notice of such a plain-looking girl. A/N, as a man of culture, I respect plain-looking girls because we all know that they have to work twice as hard compared to naturally good-looking girls. Yo! You're Grimm, right? While he was dealing with the fact that he had to fight a bunch of no-names for his first match, an unfamiliar voice snapped him back to reality. Hey! David! Mimosa suddenly said once she saw the person who called out. Turning to look at this David guy, Grimm cast a glance over his figure. Blue eyes, short blonde hair and quite tall. Why do I get the feeling that this guy would be fetishized by an angry little man who was deranged over the fact that he couldn't grow a mustache properly? Weird. Oh? You were here to Mimosa? David said in surprise seeing his squad mate standing here. Before she could answer, another unfamiliar voice rang out in the distance as a girl with long wavy brown hair and green eyes hurried over to them. Grimm and David swallow right. Oh, you must be Miss Selena from the Blue Rose, right? David said after seeing her Magic Knight robe. Ah yes. She suddenly bowed. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Going red in the face, she realized that she had bit her tongue and messed up her introduction. Cute. Was the only word David could describe it as. Looking at the girl, Mimosa couldn't help but frown as she saw that Selena had been sneakily throwing glances Grimm's way. While Grimm had seen it too, he merely shrugged it off. It was only natural after all. Considering the fact that he had soloed several Magic Knight bases by himself which proved his strength, it wasn't a surprise that women would be interested in him. Also factoring in his above-average appearance into the equation, it'd be stranger if he didn't attract her attention. After bidding farewell to Mimosa and the rest, Grimm and his teammates made their way to their own corner. So what's your magic attributes? He asked once they were far enough from the other teams. Laughing lightly, David told Grimm all about his magic and its uses. Dice magic, magic that manifests dice that generate power in proportion to the number of pips rolled. After hearing his description, Grimm couldn't help but think about how unreliable this type of magic was. Right now, David's combat potential was probably the weakest in the group. If it weren't for him being a noble and having a vast amount of mana, Grim would consider him completely useless. Moving on to Selena, Grim didn't really need to hear her explanation as he already knew more about water magic than he would have probably liked to. Not to mention that he had once taken the full brunt of it, not that he would remind her. Okay. He nodded after hearing about their abilities. What do you know about the enemy magic knights? Since Wainsley is part of the Blue Rose, you go first, Selena. While it was unknown why Grim was calling all the shots at the moment, it seemed like Selena and David didn't really have a problem with it and naturally followed his lead. Gathering all the intel needed, Grim could only admit that the opposing team really were scrubs. Well then, let's get this over with. Stepping onto the battlefield, Grim and the other magic knights were informed that they weren't allowed to kill anyone. Match start. Creators' thoughts. Errata. Finally starting the tournament. Who? Chapter 91, Shaking the Kingdom. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Dodging the incoming vine needles bursting up from the ground, Grim crossed the grassy terrain and closed the distance between him and his other 3 opponents within seconds. Damn it! How can we be pushed back by a single magic knight? Controlling the vines with his plant magic, Roland poured everything he had into stopping Grim's advance. Wainsley! He yelled. Hearing his voice, the girl from the Blue Rose squad did her best to pick up the crystal and put some distance between them and Grim. Fire magic, flame spike. Providing cover for her, the last member of their team, Nyx from the Green Mantis squad, used his magic to create a whip made of fire with fire spikes protruding from it. Playing with fire in front of me? Do you want to die? Amused at Nyx's little fire magic, Grim stopped dodging the vines and switched to Breath of the Blue Flames. Incinerate. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Unleashing his majestic blue flames and expelling them from his body and into the surrounding area, Roland watched in horror as his vines were burnt the moment they came out of the ground. Impossible. Get cancelled, motherfucker. Grinning at the look on his face, Grim charged forward without a hint of fear on his face. Protect the crystal. I'll stop this bastard. Pushing Roland behind him, Nyx stepped forth and started slashed at Grim with his flame spike. Het. Activating his ki, Grim slowed down for a mere instant as he slightly leaned to the left and watched as the whip slashed down from the sky and smacked the ground. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Grabbing onto the spike-covered whip, Grim felt the muscles in his arms tighten as he clenched down and pulled Nyx towards himself. Wah-ya. Feeling as if his arms were about to rip off, Nyx's brain didn't have enough time to process what was going on as he was dragged towards his enemy. Naig thir. Roland screamed. Watching him fly through the air, Grim pulled his arm back and gathered blue fire magic around his fist. You like to play with fire, hey? Then let's play. Unable to hold it back any longer, Grim's sadistic smile crawled its way up to the surface as his right arm shot out and drew in close to Nyx's nose. Feeling as if the world had slowed down and lost all color, Nyx watched as the blue flame-colored fist slowly approached his face. So this is how I die. Resigning himself to fate, he closed his eyes and accepted the outcome. But just as he was prepared to receive this punch, he heard a word that would haunt him for the rest of his lifetime. Rengoku. Flashback. So what's our strategy here? Should we hide the crystal and then attack them all together, or leave one of us behind to defend it while the others deal with the enemy's crystal? Selena asked. Hide the crystal. Grim looked at her with an amused expression. What's the point of doing something so unnecessary? Unnecessary? Looking at the confused expression on her face, Grim couldn't help but place his hand on her chin and slowly raise her head up so that the two of them were looking into the other's eyes. I alone am enough to win this. I. Turning bright red in the face, Selena's mouth suddenly went dry as all the water in her body started flowing downwards. Having never been so close to a man before, she felt her legs go weak as her strength threatened to leave her. Looking at the actions of the two magic knights from the projection, women from all over the Clover Kingdom felt their faces flush red and subconsciously clenched their legs together. This was especially true for the women from the Blue Rose squad. Viewing platform. Watching Grim holding that girl's chin and peering into her eyes, the magic knights watching from the viewing platform were at a loss for words. What a naughty boy! Vanessa giggled. This guy's more of a playboy than I am. Finral whined, remembering the time he brought Grim on that mixer. To be young again. Julius chuckled while watching the match. While everyone was whispering about what was happening in front of them and about how bold Grim's actions were, the girls from the Blue Rose were having a different discussion. Oh my god! Did you see what he just did? What's Selena's boyfriend gonna say? Do you think they'll break up? Do you think they'll fight over her? Kia! It's a love triangle. While the girls from the Blue Rose were gossiping, there was a small group of girls whose eyes had hardened over the sight of Grimm's action. Noelle, that hussy. Mimosa, that floozy. Rebecca, that bitch. After spending years working besides Grimm, Rebecca had picked up on the meaning of some of his phrases and was now using them in a way that would make him proud. On the other hand, there was one woman who was amused at the sight. Mereoleona, what an interesting lad. Guys. I'm still here. Seeing that the two hadn't said anything for a while, David had to point out that he was still a part of the group. A/N, he got the funeral treatment. Letting go of Selena's chin and watching her drop to her knees, Grimm turned his back on the two and started walking off. In truth, while he believed that he was more than enough to destroy the enemy crystal, his real reasoning behind leaving these two behind was because he had yet to sate his sadistic hunger from earlier and felt like the two of them would get in his way as he dealt with the opposing team. The other reason was the fact that David was basically useless and he felt more comfortable leaving some who could actually fight, Selena, to defend the crystal. As for the whole raising her chin incident, people completely misread the situation. While they saw it as an intimate gesture on his part, Grimm actually raised her chin so that she was looking up at him while he was looking down at her. It was a power move. Flashback end. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Unleashing a point-blank Rengoku, Grimm disfigured Nyx's face as he was sent flying through the air and broke several bones in his body as his back was slammed into one side of a mountain before popping out the other end. By the time the dust had settled, the bloody mess that was called Nyx could be seen laying on the ground with several sharp bones piercing his skin and jutting out of his body. Gasp! The whole kingdom did so in union. Even the escaping Wainsley who was meant to be protecting the crystal stood frozen as she used her hands to cover her mouth. And Nyx? Roland stuttered with a shaky voice as he looked at Nyx's barely moving body. Feeling like he was being glared at, Grimm's sadistic smile started spreading across his face as he turned to stare in the direction the Wizard King would be. Don't worry, I followed your rules. Grins, nobody died. A/N, but he is crippled. Creator's thoughts. Errata. I mean he's not wrong, he didn't kill anyone. And bet you guys didn't see that coming. LOL, Grimm is truly a walking disaster. Also put a flashback in the middle of the chapter, wasn't sure how it would turn out since I haven't done it in a while, hopefully it blended smoothly. Chapter 92, Giving Her the Work. Why you monster? Roland screamed at Grimm after seeing what he did to Nyx. This is a match. Not a fight to the death. How could you do such a thing to your fellow magic knight? Hey! Grimm looked at him like he was staring at an idiot before materializing his flame sword and slowly walking towards him. The Wizard King confined me within his rules, I simply adjusted myself and follow them. If you want to blame anyone for your friend's condition, then blame yourself for being unable to protect your comrade. Using unknowing fire to cross the distance between them in an instant, Grimm flashed in front of a stunned Roland with his sword held high and a cruel smile spread across his face. Breath of the Blue Flame, 5th form, Flame Tiger. Burn. Growl. Opening its jaws, the huge tiger made of blue flames opened its mouth and bit down on a screaming Roland. While the tiger wouldn't be able to actually eat him, you could bet your ass that Roland would be coming out with some nasty-looking burns. Viewing platform. Oh god! We have to end this match. One of the magic knights said in panic after seeing Nyx's bloodied figure and hearing Roland's ear-piercing screams. Wizard King! Please stop this! Please, your grace! This is barbaric! We cannot allow such a person to represent us magic knights. While people were pleading with him to end the match, the usually jolly Wizard King had a dark expression on his face. From the way he was acting, Julius had already figured that Grimm was confident in escaping punishment if he brought this topic up. And after the whole base hoping incident where he managed to gain the support of the kingdom's people, Julius knew just how dangerous it was to let this boy talk. Laughing to himself, Grimm figured that the Wizard King must be pretty pissed right about now. But this was revenge for ruining his fun with that purple orca magic knight. Ha, your move, Mr. Wizard King. Huff huff. Running with all her might, Wainsley did her best to keep the crystal afloat with her ice magic. Have to protect the crystal. You look pretty tired, you should take a break. Hearing a familiar voice, Wainsley's heart threatened to leap out of her chest as she turned her head to the side and saw Grimm running beside her with his eyes closed and a smile plastered on his face. Hi! Asterisk boom! Asterisk. Jumping back, she unleashed a torrent of ice magic towards the young magic knight in hopes of freezing him in place. It was just a shame that his magic countered hers. Breath of Flames, second form, Rising Scorching Sun. Using this spell, Grimm's sword slashed upwards in an arc-like fashion as he sent a spinning wheel of flames crashing into the ice torrent and cancelling out Wainsley's attack. Well, wasn't that a waste of time? Why, you stopped it? She despaired. Yep, but feel free to try again, I've got all day. Seeing his smug expression, Wainsley's grimoire flipped open as she started firing off countless spells. Huff huff. This is impossible. She screamed. After firing off every spell in her grimoire, she refused to believe that her opponent, who was even younger than her, was completely fine. It was illogical. Even if he could defeat her, it shouldn't be this easy, right? Impossible? This is what they call affinity. Affinity. She repeated. Yep, you were simply unlucky to face me. Hearing him, her shoulders dropped as she had to face the reality of the situation. Her ice magic was weak to fire magic. I see. She sighed in defeat. What now? Thinking about it now, he actually went quite easy on her compared to the others. As a true advocate of gender equality, this was something he must rectify. I guess it's my turn to attack now. But don't worry, I know how you Blue Rose girls don't like being looked down upon by men, therefore I'll attack you with all I've got. What? I don't want that. Just as she was about to protest, Grimm had already gotten into a combat stance. Grimm style, Unknowing Fire. Activating this spell while compressing and releasing fire magic beneath the solace of his feet and the ground, Grimm shot forward with a speed that surpassed the regular Unknowing Fire. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. KYAH. Hit squarely in the middle of her stomach with the butt of his sword, Wainsley felt all the air in her lung being forcefully pushed out as her body curled forward and her figure was sent shooting backwards at a speed that caused the air to whistle. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Using Grimm style, Unknowing Fire again, Grimm caught up to her flying figure and appeared behind her. Breath of Wind. Switching attributes, he whipped his leg forward and sent a roundhouse kick towards her back. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Creating an air grenade in gap between where his leg and her back made contact, he caused the grenade to explode, causing back to snap backwards in an unusual way and launched her body into the sky. Combining his ability to fly and creating air grenades beneath his feet, a loud explosion rung out as he shot into the air and appeared above the ascending Wainsley. Breath of Stone, third form, Stone Skin. Finally using this element, Grimm's skin took on a stone-like luster as he mercilessly chopped his hand down at her stomach. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Feeling her eyes bulge out, Wainsley opened her mouth to scream, but since all the air in her body had been forced out, the only thing that came out of her mouth was a fresh stream of blood. Being hit by such an attack made her feel like all her organs had burst. Hitting her hard enough that he created a shockwave, Grimm watched as her body was shot down from the sky and slammed onto the tip of the crystal, crushing it in the process and signifying his team's victory. Whistle. Well damn, I didn't think she'd land on the crystal. Creator's thoughts. Errata. You can just tell that Grimm really enjoyed this fight. Less about the actual fighting itself and more about tormenting his opponents. Chapter 93, Untouchable. Such power. Aya. Who? We love you, Grimm. All over the Clover Kingdom, the peasants and commoners roared with cheers as they saw Grimm deal with the magic knights of noble descent. For too long had they been oppressed and looked down upon by the so-called elites of society. Seeing someone like Grimm, who was a person of common birth just like them, standing up and defeating nobility made them feel like they were finally able to fight back. His speech during the Star Awarding Festival seemed to have resonated with every commoner who heard it. After that day, Grimm's name had spread throughout every corner of the kingdom, even the residents of Hage Village had heard about it. There were even talks about forcefully taking back the kingdom from the hands of the royals and giving it back to the people. A/N, Law Revolution. To make matters even weirder, these extremist groups used Grimm as a symbol for their cause. It was actually starting to become a problem as they were turning into fanatics more than anything else. While the commoners were celebrating Grimm's victory, the nobles, magic knights, and Wizard King couldn't see it in the same way. For the nobles it was the fact that he heavily injured people of noble birth. To them this was an act of defiance and treason. For the magic knights it was the fact that Grimm had done such a thing to fellow magic knights. As people who were supposed to protect the kingdom together, there existed a line that should never be crossed. But Grimm, he leapt right over that line without even sparing a glance. The person whose mood was the worst of all was Julius's. He knew that Grimm only took it this far because he wanted to show the Wizard King that even if he was confined by the rules, nobody could stop him if he wanted to do something. And to make matters even worse, he wasn't in the wrong. While he was certainly heavy-handed in his actions, he followed the rules to the letter and couldn't be punished. Not to mention that it was natural that there would be some injuries in battles, so he could just say that he did what he did because he felt threatened. Sigh. Sighing loudly, the Wizard King felt a headache coming on as he looked at the black-haired boy in the distance. One fight. It only took one fight for him to completely suppress the onlooking magic knights. His reputation for base-hopping and cursing out royalty already made him look like a madman that people should steer clear of. But after seeing the way he fought, who would have the guts to face him now? That bastard! A random magic knight just yelled. Why yet? How dare he be so brutal to his comrades? Disqualification! He should be disqualified. While the magic knights ranted and raved about kicking him out, the man in question watched as his opponents were moved to the infirmary. I wonder who's fighting next? After having the results announced, Grimm and his team returned to the viewing platform with the other magic knights. But for some reason everything outside of the Black Bulls, Yuno, Klaus, Mimosa, and Leo kept their distance. While you were pretty heavy-handed, congratulations on your win. Noel smiled. Yet. You looked really cool when you did that last attack. Mimosa cheered, ignoring the brutality of his actions. Looking at all the people gathering around him, Selena and David were at a loss for words. Forgetting the fact that her teammate had ruthlessly beaten and almost crippled a member of her squad, Selena was sure that normal people wouldn't congratulate someone who sent 3 magic knights to the infirmary. Then again, compared to how he looked when he was fighting, no one would imagine that the boy who was smiling and laughing with his friends would be capable of such acts of violence. Sigh. I wonder how Captain Charlotte is gonna react. Out of all his friends, the only one who didn't congratulate Grimm was Asta. While he was happy that his friend made it to the next round, he couldn't support the way Grimm handled things. In response to that, Grimm merely shrugged his shoulders. While he might see Asta as a friend, he wasn't gonna change the way he did things just because he didn't approve. Standing with the others, Grimm watched as Asta, Mimosa, and Xerxes' match began. 5 minutes later. Oh! Firing their magic off from 3 different directions, Mimosa watched in horror as her opponent's magic was about to hit her in the crystal. But just as she was prepared to take the hit, 3 magic circles appeared around her figure and absorbed all the magic. What the? Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Releasing all the absorbed magic outwards and back at the other team, Grimm and the others watched with great interest as a huge explosion took place. What just happened? Confused by the outcome, Grimm's eyes locked onto the battlefield as he forced himself not to blink in case he missed something. Watching the dust settle, Xerxes placed his hands in his pockets and walked towards the intact enemy crystal. To be able to prevent the crystal from being destroyed while remaining conscious, well done Mr. Magic Knight. Ugh! Laying in front of the crystal, a magic knight from the enemy team grit his teeth as he refused to lose. Stepping on the magic knight's body, Xerxes approached the crystal with the intention of destroying it and ending this farce of a match. Gya! As if an insolent person like you would ever destroy our crystal, Gya! Stomping down on his head, Xerxes crouched down so that he was looking at the downed magic knight in the eye. How does it feel to lose to such an insolent person? Do you lack the ability to envision magic you've never seen before? Magic knights should be able to consider all possibilities when fighting, right? There's no way you'd be able to win just by idiotically releasing large-scale magic attack with your passion alone. Losers like you don't deserve to call yourself magic knights. What? It's time to end this. Grinding his foot deeper into the man's face, Xerxes stood in front of the crystal while covering his hand in ash magic. Oi Mr. Magic Knight! He called out without turning back. Go retrain yourself, then challenge me again, you trash! Watching Xerxes' hand approach the crystal, the magic knight couldn't help but scream, Goddammit! Asterisk shatter! Asterisk! Destroying the enemy crystal, Xerxes ended the match. This guy! I like his style! Grinning at Xerxes' handling of the fight, Grimm couldn't help but feel like this tournament would be interesting. Creators' thoughts. Errata. So Grimm's famous and has a fan club. LOL, maybe I should add in a Yandere, wonder how Grimm would deal with that? Ooh. Maybe I could do it for the Devil Banisher arc, anime onlys no. And LOL for them not being able to disqualify him. Yay Zora for attracting Grimm's attention. Anyway, we're gonna start speeding through the next couple of matches since we only really care about Grimm. Chapter 94, End of Round 1. After Asta's match ended, a couple more matches played out. To be completely honest, most of them were a waste of time and only a few teams managed to catch his attention. The team he had the most interest in besides Asta's was Yuno's team and Langris's team. Spatial magic, he never knew that it was possible to be used in an offensive way. Compared to Finral, Langris was something else entirely. And to make it even better, just like Yami's dimensional/Langris's spatial magic ignored defense. Just thinking about going up against magic like that made him impatient. As for Yuno, he was quite interested in seeing that boy's growth. While the two had competed with each other on mana amount during the Star Awarding Festival, Grimm wanted to get into an actual fight with him. Since he was aiming to become the strongest in the world, he might as well become the strongest rookie first. Laughing to himself, the moment Grimm had been waiting for had finally arrived. Moving on to the fifth match of round 1. Would Team I please make their way to the examination area? The announcer called out. Excuse me. Two men drew everybody's attention. We're on Team I, has anyone seen this Mr. X person? X? Who is that? Have you heard of him? Is there such a person in the Magic Knights? While everyone was trying to figure out who this mysterious X person was, a strange-looking man standing in the middle of several Magic Knights started laughing abruptly. What the fuck? I'm X. The man laughed before bursting into a flash of light. Erg. Too bright. By the time the light finally faded away, the person standing in place of Mr. X was someone that every Magic Knight recognized. EHHH. Every responded in the same fashion. Ha, so that's how it was. Standing with the rest of them was the captain of the Azure Deer, Ril Boismortier. Yeah. Captain Ril. He's participating. No way. Smiling like an absolute fool, Ril looked at the Wizard King. I'm able to participate, right? Of course. The Wizard King said, giving him a thumbs up. There's no rule saying you can't. Really? Really? Awesome. Jumping for joy, Ril's eyes shone with stars. The Wizard King on the other hand was just excited at the fact that he could see Ril's magic again. That and he wanted to see what it would look like if demon-slaying magic went up against painting magic. Two magic types both capable of using multiple different magic attributes. How interesting would their fight be? As if knowing what he was thinking, Ril ran up to Grimm and Asta's group. Hey guys! Hey Ril! Asta waved back with a big smile on his face. Let's do our best and paint a masterpiece. Sure. Whoa! Watching Ril's match almost made Grimm jump out of his seat. He's using ice and fire. Having never seen painting magic before, Grimm was blown away by its use. Although he hadn't fought against him, Grimm could already tell that the captain of the Azure Deer was no ordinary person. While he could see that he was inexperienced compared to captains like Yami and Mereoleona, the potential oozing out of him left Grimm at a loss for words. This tournament just keeps getting more and more interesting. After Ril's match was Lux. Obviously Luck won. As someone who was capable of sparring against Grimm for a time, it would be unthinkable if he lost in the first round. After him was Yuno's match. Since Yuno and Noel were on the same team, the outcome were fairly obvious. But what made it even funnier was the fact that Noel was up against her older brother, Solid Silva. While he may be able to intimidate his little sister, Grimm had seen this loser piss his pants and had lost any form of respect that he may have garnered in this lifetime. While that match was going on, Grimm decided to go talk to the Wizard King. After all, he wanted to see how this self-righteous defender of the weak would react to him after what he did to his opponents in round 1. But just as he was about to go over there, several Magic Knights blocked his way. Oh! He raised an eyebrow. We've been ordered to not allow you anywhere near the king. The king. Looking over the Magic Knight's shoulder, he saw Julius sitting next to the Clover King. I forgot all about this dude. Patting the Magic Knight on the shoulder, Grimm showed off a clean smile. It's fine, me and the king go way back. Seeing Grimm starting to walk past him, the surrounding Magic Knights blocked his way again. Move. Still smiling at them, the look in Grimm's eyes became dangerous as a savage aura burst out of his body and slammed into the magic knights. Getting hit with his aura made the magic knights go weak in the knees. But even so, they wouldn't move. Oh? Did I go too easy on you guys? Let's change that. Removing his savage aura, Grimm flooded them with his killing intent. Gya. Arg. Erg. Gripping their chests, the lot of them broke out in cold sweat as Grimm's figure seemed to grow in stature and tower above them. In their eyes, Grimm seemed to be surrounded by an ocean of blood. And to make matters even worse, he was still wearing that damn smile. Reaching out with his hand, Grimm was about to touch the face of the lead magic knight. But then he suddenly stopped. As much as he wanted to kill these insects, doing it in front of the Wizard King would probably be a bad idea. And besides, even though he concealed it well, he had a suspicion that the Wizard King was watching him. He really does like ruining my fun. Walking past the terrified magic knights, he left them frozen in place as he made his way over towards Julius and the king. 3 minutes later. You can't speak to me like that. I'm a king. King? Yeah, a few king idiot sounds about right. Sitting next to Julius and the Clover King, Grimm laughed loudly at enraged king. It seems like he was still trying to grasp the dignity that a king should have. Too bad no one was buying it. Doing their best to ignore them, only the Wizard King was smiling at their conversation. Oi Wizard King! Grimm abruptly called out. Can we start round 2 already? Round 2. Looking up at the matches, he realized that it was about time that they moved on. I guess so. Chapter 95, Unstoppable Momentum. Whoa! The stage is changing. Standing with Asta and the rest, Grimm watched as the battlefield transformed itself into a completely different landscape. But while everyone was amazed at this sudden change, Grimm honestly couldn't give less of a shit. To him every location was a battlefield. Now then! The Wizard King called out. Let the second round begin. Bursting forth with spirit and enthusiasm, the Magic Knights of the Clover Kingdom all went to their respective areas and readied themselves for the second round. To start things off, it was Asta's team against Mimosa's brother's team. While some people were looking forward to it, Grimm already saw the match as a done deal. He'd already fought against Kirsch Vermilion and Sol Marone in the past and had a good grasp of their power. As for Magna, well, he didn't really factor into this fight if Grimm was being completely honest. As for Asta's team, besides Asta he hadn't fought against Mimosa or that fake Zerx guy. But from what he had seen, it shouldn't be that hard to win if they're smart. Whistling. Whistling to himself, Grimm watched as Asta entered his black form and performed a maneuver he called Black Hurricane to completely blow away all of Kirsch's cherry blossoms. What the? He got rid of all that magic. At the sight of this technique, Grimm couldn't help but feel his eyes go wide as he jumped to his feet. He's stronger than he was when he was in the witch's forest. Damn it, Asta! If you show me something like that, how do you expect me to hold back? Trembling with excitement, Grimm didn't even realize the smile on his face was widening and all his teeth were showing. Damn it, damn it, damn it! I wanna crush him so fucking bad! While Grimm was mumbling to himself, the battle between Asta's team and Kirsch's ended in a one-sided slaughter as Asta's team dominated the match. Would the next team please make their way to the battle? Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Unable to hold back any longer, Grimm blew past the announcer and arrived on the battle arena oozing with battle intent. Fight, 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 fight. Is he okay? David asked, still standing on the viewing platform. Oi David, Selena. Before she could answer, Grimm voice reverted through the air and slammed into their figures. Get your asses down here now. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk. Feeling like he was standing right in front of them, the two magic knights were hit by his savage aura and were overcome by some weird primal instinct that caused them to unintentionally sweat. Seeing Grimm in that state, Luck couldn't help but laugh and feel excited. The other Black Bulls on the other hand felt sorry for Grimm's next opponent. Who is it anyway? Vanessa asked. Hey? Shouldn't the matchups be on the board over there? Freezing in place, Noelle felt like she had just been punched in the gut as she stopped breathing once she saw the names of Grimm's next opponents. While two of the names on the board didn't mean anything to her, the name that she saw at the top was all too familiar to her. Nebra Silva. Seeing that name and remembering what Grimm did to her last time, Noelle could only whisper the words. Oh no. Ha 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 ha. Like a beast let off his leash, Grim gleefully tore through his opponents like paper, doing his best to recapture the ultimate pleasure he felt by crushing those he deemed lower than himself. As of this moment the competition no longer existed in his eyes. Only his enemies did. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Relying on nothing by his breath of the beast-enhanced physique and stone skin, Grim's fists tore through the air as he rocked one of his opponents with a brutal display of continuous 1-2 combo punches to the face until his fists were dripping with their fresh blood. Weirdly enough though, this display of brutality was quite tame compared to what he did in round 1. Unlike round 1 where he tormented his opponents to the point that it became somewhat difficult to watch, Grim moved on as soon as he grew bored. Even the Wizard King was surprised by this turn of events. While he couldn't exactly condone Grim's actions, as long as he wasn't trying to kill anyone there was nothing he could do. Not to mention that Grim was the current golden boy in the eyes of the common people. If he acted rashly and interrupted Grim, it may be seen as him using his position to protect a noble while denying a person of common birth the opportunity to shine. In fact, this was the reason he didn't say anything to Grim despite what he saw in round 1. The last thing this kingdom needed at the moment was a class war. Sigh. How much of this did you anticipate? Looking at Grim's smiling figure, Julius was truly at a loss for words. To think that a boy who had recently turned 16 would be capable of causing him some trouble. It was quite amusing. Breathing heavily while still grinning like a madman, Grim approached Nebra and her teammate who was protecting the crystal. Nebra, he said in a melodic tone that didn't suit the way he was smiling. Shiver. Shuddering at the way he said her name, Nebra instinctively held her trembling arm and took a step backwards while a look of despair slowly crawled onto her face. Oi you! He called out to the magic knight standing beside her. Why are you still here? Hey? To protect the crystal, of course. The magic knight said before getting into a defensive stance. Is that so? Grim smiled. Well, you don't need to do that anymore. Right, Nebra? Hit by his glare, the eldest daughter of House Silva felt a lump in her throat as she couldn't help but nod her head. Lady Silva! Leave! She suddenly yelled at the magic knight while trying to sound confident while holding back her tears. You heard the lady. Grim smiled while staring at the magic knight. Leave, you insect! What? How dare you? Jonathan! Nebra screamed at him before he could finish his sentence. Go take out the enemy crystal. I can deal with him. She stammered. Lady Silva. Looking at the smiling Grim and the confident Nebra. Jonathan nodded. I understand. The crystal's in that direction. Grim smiled while pointing to the distance. Looking in direction that he was pointing to, a look of determination settled on Jonathan's face. After seeing the first round he knew that he was not Grim's opponent. But if he could destroy his opponent's crystal while Lady Silva stalled for time, then they would win and they no longer have to face this walking disaster. It was only a shame that the direction he was heading in wasn't where the crystal was. You see, after having the landscape be remodeled, the Wizard King added in some small ponds to the surrounding ruins. Seeing this, Grim basically threw the crystal into one of these ponds and used Selena's water magic to coat the crystal in high-density layers of water so it would look like the pond was completely empty to the naked eye, while the reality of the situation was that the crystal was in a watery disguise. Now the direction Jonathan was heading in was actually the location of Selena and David. He thought that the two of them might want to have some fun while he played with Miss Silva over here. Now then, he said while looking at Nebra like she was prey. Let's take our time and have some fun. The Silva family can't catch a break when it comes to Grim, lol. Loki feel bad for the Wizard King, he really can't touch Grim. Oh. And to the dude who said Grim should stop being such a dick. All I can say is it's a part of his character. It makes his endearing and stand out compared to all the cookie-cutter ox in other FF, plus I think a character like Grim is a nice contrast to what we've seen in Black Clover so far. Chapter 96, Submit. I stuttering at the sight of his smile, tears started welling up in the corner of her eyes as he slowly came closer. Looking at the approaching figure, despair gripped her heart as the ingrained fear made her drop to her knees and look up to her tormentor. Hat. Grim grinned seeing her actions as he closed in on her. Come to think of it, you're pretty fucking ugly, aren't you? Asterisk boom. Asterisk. As if an explosion went off in her heart, Grim's words caused Nebra's face to turn deathly white and sent a shock through her system. Having grown up fond by everyone around her, this was the first time someone had straight up called her ugly. Ignoring the explosions going on in the background from Jonathan facing off against Selena and David, Grimm kept walking towards her and not mincing his words. You know, it's actually hard to believe that you're related to Noelle and Mimosa. I mean, unlike them, your hairstyle is shit, your fashion style is shit, your face is shit, the way you walk is shit, the way you talk is shit, your entire existence is nothing but shit. She opened her mouth wanting to defend herself. But before she could, he tilted his head to the side and said, "Did I say you could speak?" Closing her mouth, Nebra lowered her head as Grimm continued to berate her. "Sigh, I guess it's not your fault though. Every family has that one person who inherits the ugly gene. But tell me, oh wonderful and dignified royal, how does it feel to have smaller tits than your little sister and cousin? You're 24, right? Almost 10 older than both of them, and yet you're still smaller than them? As a woman, how can you not be ashamed of yourself? You're basically a failure. A/N, FYI, I love tits of all sizes, no discrimination here. As long as they're legal, no lolicons here." Viewing platform. Is it just me, or does it seem like Grimm is going over the top? Mimosa asked, embarrassed that Grimm had indirectly complimented her as he insulted Nebra. Yet. Klaus nodded. Grimm's humiliated her before, but never in such a place where so many people were watching. After this, the silver reputation may take a hit. While the two of them discussed this, Noelle was making a complicated expression as her feelings were in turmoil. Nozel, on the other hand, who watching from a different location, was fuming. If it weren't for the fact that he was a captain and had a lot of eyes on him, Grimm would probably be dead by now. Battlefield. Damn, you really have no sexy features at all. Not hard to imagine why you're not popular like the Blue Rose captain. If anyone likes you, it's probably just a few fat nobles that have some weird feet fetish. What a fucking tragedy. He chuckled. A/N, no kink shaming here, if feet is your thing then congrats. I personally have a nun fetish. That's not. Hey. He crouched down and gripped her cheeks, stopping her from talking. Didn't I already tell you not to speak? Platform. Holy shit. Was the collective gasp amongst the watchers. Crack. The armrest on Nozel's seat on the other hand. Battlefield. Sniff. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Nebra started crying. Now. Grimm comforted. Since I'm such a nice guy, even if it's an irredeemable piece of shit like you who has no attractive features to her name, as long as you're an obedient little pet, I don't mind taking care of you. Ba dumb. He'll take care of me. Bringing her face closer to his, in Nebra's eyes his smile became a lot gentler. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Grimm brought his face closer and whispered. Feeling her face go red from the close distance between them, Nebra felt her heartbeat accelerate as her body started heating up. Remembering the first time the two of them had met, the way he had dominated her, the way he had made her feel so small and insignificant. That feeling, it was addicting. Compared to all the other men she had met in her life, only this savage-looking commoner had ever made her willingly bow. Even the Wizard King, the greatest mage in the entire kingdom, was only bowed to due to his status. But Grimm, a poor commoner from the worst Magic Knight squad. Something about him sent her instincts into overdrive. From the way he looked down on her with that amused smile on his face to the way he constantly berated her, it made her feel an indescribable amount of unexplained satisfaction. It was like she was seeing the world for the first time. Almost like awakening from a long dream. Remembering that she had not been given permission to speak, the redness on Nebra's face turned into a deep blush as his words replayed back in her head. As long as you're an obedient little pet, I don't mind taking care of you. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Looking at the distance to where the platform for the viewers were, Nebra hesitated for a slight second before looking back at Grimm and nodding. Good. Seeing the infatuated look in her eyes, Grimm knew that he had dominated her physically, mentally, and emotionally. As of this moment, Nebra Silva had completely given herself over to him. Well then, in order to cement our newfound friendship, keeping the same innocent smile on his face, Grimm's next words were like a thunderclap to the watching audience. Bark for me, bitch. And with no hesitation at all, Nebra opened her mouth. Ruff. And barked. Ruff, 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 ruff. She barked with so much enthusiasm that the viewers were unable to say a word. A/N, Grimm the sadist is back. While Grimm was enjoying this for obvious reasons, looking at her bark like some kind of insane puppy made him wonder how girls could like this kind of power play stuff. If not for some of his fragmented memories where this kind of abusive setting was the norm and even sought after in media on Earth, Grimm didn't think he'd be able to manipulate her the way he did. I guess this world is a lot less fucked up than modern Earth. Chapter 97, History in the Making. After having Nebra submit herself to him, Grimm walked past the eldest daughter of the Silva household and stood in front of her team's crystal. To think they fought so hard to protect this. Too bad it was a waste of time. Turning his head to the side in order to glance at Nebra, Grimm smiled as his grimoire started glowing green and the wind manifested itself into his hand. Placing his hand on the crystal, he formed an air grenade and watched as it went off, shattering the crystal into tiny fragments and blowing them away from himself. And with that, his team moved on to the next round. Gee, Grimm! Nebra called out after hearing the noise that signified the end of the match. He turned to look at her. Well. What should I do now? Looking unsure of herself, she knew that she had just embarrassed herself in front of the entire kingdom and was wondering if Grimm had any ideas to help save her reputation. While she might have submitted herself to him, her pride as a royal would not permit her to be looked down upon by others. Seeing the previously arrogant girl gripping the hems of her outfit, Grimm couldn't but chuckle at her predicament. If this was before, he would have simply walked away after giving her the finger. But now that she had bowed her head to him, he considered her his property and an extension of himself by default. That being said, wouldn't it be outrageous if others were allowed to do what they wanted with his property? After thinking about it for a while, he came up with a solution. Turning to face the Wizard King and the people devices used to transmit the footage to the entire kingdom, with a smile on his face he opened his mouth and resolved the entire situation. Yo Clover citizens, this woman is now under my banner, if you respect me you'll respect her. What? Is he serious? He expects us to respect a royal. How outrageous! As Grimm's speech reverberated throughout the entire kingdom, voices of dissatisfaction rang out as the people of the Clover Kingdom couldn't believe that he wanted them to respect someone they considered an enemy. Knowing that this wouldn't be enough to quell the years of animosity they had towards nobility, Grimm continued with his speech. I know what you all are thinking. Respect a royal? That doesn't sound right. But worry not. I don't want you to respect her as a royal, I could give less of a shit about that title. I want you to respect her as the first royal to fall to me. Grimm the commoner. Slamming his chest with his knuckles in order to cause a more visual impact to the viewers. Ladies and gentlemen of the Clover Kingdom, right now you are witnessing history in the making. Nebra Silva. The first noble to submit. Her name will go down in the annals of history as the spark that lit the flame of change. Don't let your anger of the nobles cloud your judgment. This is a victory for commoners everywhere. Today is a day to be celebrated. Are you with me? He roared. We're with you, Grimm. Down with nobility. All over the kingdom, the citizens of Clover roared with Grimm as they had completely forgotten that the fact that they were meant to be watching a tournament to pick the best fighters to protect the Clover Kingdom. Watching Grimm go on and receiving reports from Marks about the situation with the citizens, the Wizard King could only sigh as the magic knights around him exploded in outrage. Sigh. His words alone are capable of bringing down an entire kingdom. If he ever went into politics he could probably take over the entire country within a few days. A/N, I love how Grimm has two different versions of Naruto's greatest ability, Talk no Jutsu and Roast no Jutsu. One brings people over to his side while the other breaks them lol. The perfect offense and defense. Seeing Grimm speak out for her, Nebra went red in the face as her heart beat so fast that she thought that it was trying to jump out of her chest. He's saying all of that for me. Touching her chest and watching him, a feeling that she had never felt before was beginning to take root within her heart. Finishing his speech, Grimm couldn't help but whisper to himself. Damn, I'm good. Kind of wish I had speech magic now, I'd be unstoppable. Grinning to himself, he headed over towards Nebra. He's coming this way. Is he gonna compliment me? What should I do? What should I say? Walking past her without saying a word, Nebra's illusion completely shattered. He walked past me. Just as she was about to despair, Grimm's voice made its way into her ear. Stay at least 5 feet away from me when we're walking. Surprised by his words, she turned to look at the departing figure. Yes, Grimm Master. Master. Didn't she adapt a bit too fast? Well, whatever. I'll deal with that at another time. Putting his hand in his pockets, he slowly took to the sky and made his way over to the viewing platform with a massive grin spread across his face. Watching the entire spectacle from start to finish, Mimosa didn't know what to make of what had just happened. While she was pleased that Grimm was showing off his greatness in front of the entire kingdom, the fact that he had grown closer to her older female cousin was quite vexing. In fact, both Noelle and Rebecca were having similar thoughts, while Mereoleona couldn't help but laugh at it all. As the least arrogant noble within the kingdom, she couldn't help but find the entire situation amusing. Finally, someone who knows how to have some real fun. I can't wait to see what he'll do next. Damn, this is getting exciting. Chapter 98, Torment. Team E vs Team G. So Finral's fighting his brother at. I wonder how he'll do that. Taking his seat next to the Wizard King, who was stroking a happy-looked Charmy and a very nervous-looking Clover King, Grimm rested his head on his hand. Standing a bit away from him was his new subordinate Nebra Silva. Looking at his figure that was sitting next to the two most influential humans in the whole kingdom, a look of infatuation filled her eyes. Master. Taking a position at both sides of her, Mimosa and Noelle stood with their silver-haired relative. In their eyes, Nebra had just become their #1 rival. While Grimm may not see her as much, who knew how long that would last? If he happened to catch any feelings for her due to the nature of their relationship, it would spell bad news for both girls. Leo, Finral, and Homenhui. What an interesting team. Smirking to himself, Grimm sized up Finral's team. Leo. A brash but capable junior magic knight that could probably make something of himself in the future if he applied himself a bit more. Finral. A spatial mage and Grimm's most convenient comrade within the Black Bulls. No known offensive abilities but a great support member for any battle. Haman. A chubby man and a member of the Golden Dawn. Uses glass magic but is easily defeated on a head-on collision. Hey! Raising his head slightly, he was surprised by Finral taking command of the situation. Opening a portal that led right to the enemy crystal, Finral sent Leo and Haman forward to deal with it whilst he protected his crystal from Langris and Demon Lord Sek. To think you'd be my natural weakness. How unexpected. Riding on the back of Sek's bike, Langris launched various spatial orbs at his brother but was caught off guard when he saw his brother use a similar type spell that cancelled his magic out. Ha! Everyone's been trying their hardest, I can't allow myself to fall behind. Unleashing his own orbs of spatial magic, Finral really wished that Leo and Haman would hurry up and win already. Seriously. All they have to do is defeat one opponent. What the hell's taking them so long? Snow magic, miniature garden of illusionary snow. Bathing the area in white snow, the fluffy hat-wearing fragile Tormenta defended her team's crystal from both Leo and Haman. This spell forces your senses to sleep, in here you won't be able to attack. Flame magic, spiral flame. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Activating Mana Skin, Leo covered his senses and unleashed a powerful fire spell. It was just a shame that a fragile fended off his attack with an ice wall. What? Not expecting her to react to his attack, a look of shock surfaced on Leo's face. Fragile on the other hand didn't even blink an eye as snow magic started revolving around her figure. You're not the only one who's gotten stronger. In order to face him, I won't allow an attack of that level to beat me. Face him? Who are you talking about? Grimm. As soon as she said that name, Fragile's magic seemed to go wild as snow blew out everywhere. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. What the hell? Covering their faces from the wild snow magic, Leo and Haman tried their hardest to not be blown off their feet. Creating a miniature snowstorm inside such a small area, Fragile's eyes turned ice cold. You won't stop me from facing him. After facing defeat and humiliation during Grimm's base-hoping adventure, Fragile had pushed herself to the limit in order to face him again and make him feel the same kind of fear and torment that he made her feel. Gritting her teeth, the snowstorm started to become more and more violent as she looked at the two magic knights struggling to defend against her magic. Raising her arm to point at them, her grimoire started shining as it flipped to a different page. Snow magic, avalanche. Viewing platform. Revenge at? This tournament really has everything. Watching the match from his seat, Grimm was smiling at the whole development of the fight between Fragile, Leo and Haman. Honestly, he had even forgotten about Finral and Langris. I wasn't aware that you and Miss Tormenta used to be an item. Julius suddenly said out of the blue. Hey! He glanced over at him. Why would you think that? Well, I've only seen that kind of ice-cold temperament in married women and girls who've had their hearts broken. What kind of women do you know? Whilst the two of them conversed about the topic, they were unaware that Mimosa, Noelle, and Nebra were eavesdropping behind them. Not another rival. What the hell, Grim? What did you do to make her so mad? Remembering everything he had put her through on that day, a cold smile forced its way onto Fragile's face as she started to take a weird sort of pleasure in tormenting Leo and Haman. So sea cold. Caught up in Fragile's avalanche spell, both Leo and Haman were thrust out of the building and back onto the battlefield. Now everything would have been fine if only that had happened. But for some unknown reason Fragile decided use avalanche again and bury the duo under several feet of snow. And to make matters worse, she seemed to be adding onto it in order to cause Leo to focus on maintaining his mana skin and stop him from using his fire magic to immediately melt the snow. Viewing platform. She's gonna give them frostbite at this rate. But that's not really my problem. Must have been a nasty breakup. The Wizard King whistled. Why are you so interested in my love life? Not that he had one. You're 16, you're at the age when your body starts. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Before the Wizard King could finish what he wanted to say, Grim's mana suddenly flared up as his body shot into the distance, leaving behind a broken chair and an astonished Wizard King. Why is it that you are so loved by that woman? Mother and father have abandoned you, you should be miserable. There's nothing you can beat me at, so why? Why are you still able to smile like that? Remembering everything that infuriated him about his brother, Langris looked down at his older brother who had several chunks of his body missing and raised his arm into the air. Since you can't beat me, it's only right that you should disappear. Chapter 99, Langris Vod. Just as he was about to end his brother once and for all, Langris suddenly felt the world around him go dark as a large presence oozing with killing intent suddenly appeared behind him. The fuck do you think you're doing to my transport? Hearing that cold and almost metallic-sounding voice sent a shiver down his spine as every hair on his body stood up as the tip of a steel blade pressed against the back of his neck and drew some blood. Moments later Asta, Magna, and Luck appeared with their weapons/magic drawn and looks of anger displayed on their faces. And for the first time since knowing them, Magna was not screaming, Luck was not smiling, and Asta was unleashing a small but noticeable amount of killing intent that he picked up from the amount of time he'd spent around Grim. Not to mention that Vanessa had rouge spawned, Gauche wasn't looking at a picture of his sister, Grey wasn't acting shy, Gordon was speaking normally, and Charmy wasn't eating. That was just how serious everyone took this matter. Finral. Noelle screamed with worry as she ran over to his side before covering her mouth with her hands. These wounds. How awful. Oi. Asta said with the most serious look that Grim had even seen from him. Magna also looked like he wasn't having any of it as he was mere moments away from scaring Langris's face with his flaming bat. Magna, just try and do something else. Luck, and we'll forget the match and kill you. Grim, in the most gruesome way possible. Looking at their positions now, it would be Asta at the front with his Demon Slayer sword aimed at Langris's chest, whilst Luck and Magna stood at the side with both their fire and lightning magic ready to fry him. And of course Grim completed this blockade by stopping him from retreating backwards as his sword threatened to pierce through his nape if he made any sudden movements. Ha, 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 ha 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 ha. Langris suddenly burst out into a fit of uncontrollable laughter. Trash. All of you. You think you're hot stuff just because you made it this far. Get out of my face before I... That's enough. A sudden shout came from behind. Hearing the shout, everyone suddenly turned around. Wizard King! Asta exclaimed. Owen! The Wizard King nodded to the man besides him who was wearing a doctor's coat. Nodding his head, Owen ran towards Finral's side and started treating him with healing magic. Seeing Owen starting treatment, Julius's attention returned back to Grim and the others. I can't trust somebody that would go easy on their comrades during an exam. But even more than that, I can't trust somebody that would try to kill their own comrade. Feeling his eyes on them, everyone except Grim lowered their weapons and deactivated their magic. Grim! The Wizard King called out. Lower your weapon. Hat, didn't you hear him, trash? Langris laughed. Lower your weep. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Pulling his sword back, out of nowhere Grim slammed the butt of his sword into the side of Langris's face, causing him to fall to the floor. Grim! Everyone shouted. Ignoring them, he raised his foot and mercilessly stomped down on Langris's head until it had been slightly buried into the floor. Wizard King! Grim spoke in a deep voice while grinding his foot into Langris's face. I wanna fight this guy next. What? Everyone was stunned by Grimm's request. I will kill you. Langris screamed from below as he prepared to use a spell. But before he could activate it properly, Grimm grabbed his floating grimoire out from the air and forcefully shut it, cancelling the spell. Grimm, remove your foot. Feeling the Wizard King's gaze on him, Grimm glared back at him before eventually complying. Now the reason for this was simple. First of all, he couldn't beat the Wizard King. Second of all, he knew that his actions today were already pushing it as he had injured several magic knights and had once again widened the rift between nobles and commoners with his speech. But the most important reason he stopped was because he needed the Wizard King to approve the fight. Contrary to expectation, while Grimm did intend to save Finral from dying, he's a really convenient mode of transport. The real reason he came down was because of that sinister mana that Langris was giving off. For some reason, it reminded him of Licht and Fana. Looking at the determination within his eyes, Julius couldn't help but sigh. Langris, do you accept? Picking himself up from the floor and brushing some of the dirt off of his clothes, hate, anger, humiliation, all these negative emotions swirled within his eyes as he looked at the carefree Grimm. Clenching his fists tightly and holding back the urge to unleash all his magic at once, through grit teeth he said, I accept. First it was that magicless peasant that looked down on him during the Diamond Kingdom invasion, and now it's an arrogant peasant who thinks he better than nobility. Did they really think he was so easy to handle? Was he so easy to mock? Hearing him accept the duel, Julius nodded to some people in the distance so that they would make the preparations. Opening a portal behind them, the spatial mage that transported all the examinees to the battlefield brought Fragile, Dark Lord Sek, David, and Selena over to where they were all located. Have a good time. The spatial mage laughed before closing the portal and leaving. Surprised and disoriented by what had just happened, Fragile started looking around nervously. What's going on? I thought we had won the mat. Just as she was about to finish her sentence, the words got stuck in her throat once she caught sight of a certain person. Grimm. Oh, Hate Tormenta. Grimm smiled and waved when he saw her. It's been a while, how you been? You. Me. I will kill you. Bet. Losing any control she had left, Fragile's grimoire burst open as she activated a SP. Enough. Before she even knew what had hit her, the beautiful yet angry woman was frozen in one of Julius's chronostasis orbs. Don't worry. He spoke to her. You'll have your opportunity soon. Hearing him, Grimm couldn't help but frown. Why does it sound like you're rooting for her? Ignoring him, Julius gave David, Selena, and Destroyer of Worlds Sek the rundown of what had happened. Oh? So we're fighting next. Cool. As usual, David was very chill about the situation. Selena on the other hand looked at Grimm. Seeing as he was not panicking, she simply nodded her head in agreement. Fragile had non-verbally consented to the match and Sek of the Abyss also agreed. Very well, let's begin the next match. Chapter 100, Wise Choice. Looking at the brackets, Grimm's next match was actually meant to be him up against the captain of the Azure Deer Rill. Giving up that chance to fight him, he left that fight up to Yuno while he took on Langris instead. Even though he gave up a fight with a captain, he couldn't stop himself from buzzing with excitement. Standing on his side of the battlefield, Grimm closed his eyes and felt every inch of his body burning with overflowing battle intent. It was bad to the point that his entire being was trembling from the excitement he was feeling. Two enemies with nothing but hatred for him were about to come at him with everything they had. This feeling, it's so fucking orgasmic. Match start. Boom. As soon as he was given the go-ahead, Grimm used Grimm style, breath of blue flames, unknowing fire to surpass every other level of speed he had ever used to cross the battlefield within seconds and arrive before Langris, Fragile, and World Ender Sek. With Grimm in this state, he managed to find the trio by subconsciously using Ki, mana sensing and the transparent world all at once. He's gone again. Selena said, seeing the crater Grimm had left behind and the cracks etched onto their team's crystal. While she was sighing over the fact that they were leaving the fighting up to Grimm again, part of her was happy over the fact that all she had to do was protect the crystal. While she was completely capable of fighting herself, leaving it to Grimm seemed like a better option. Avalanche. Unleashing her snow magic, Fragile was the first of her teammates to make a move as her grudge with Grimm was deeper than Langris's. Not enough. Boom. Raising the heat even higher, Grimm used his magic to create an explosion between the solace of his feet and the ground to shoot straight towards the avalanche covered in a burning blue fiery aura. What they? Watching his aura grow, Fragile and the rest were hit with an intense wave of heat as they saw the avalanche melt before it even had a chance to come into contact with Grim. He stopped my strongest spell. Spatial magic, Archangel shoot down. Seeing Fragile's attempt of attacking fail, Langris finally got involved. With his grimoire fully open and a spell in mind, spheres of spatial magic surrounded his figure as more and more sinister feeling mana rippled out of his body. Die! Speaking with a dark tone, he launched all his spatial magic orbs at the approaching Grim. Asterisk Fwoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk Fwoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk Fwoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk Fwoosh. Asterisk. Whoa! That's more like it. Seeing the uncountable number of spatial orbs falling towards him, the fiery aura that Grim was exuding vanished as a savage beastly one took over as he switched from Breath of Blue Flames to Breath of the Beast in order to use Crazy Cutting. Asterisk Swish. Asterisk. Asterisk Swish. Asterisk. Asterisk Swish. Asterisk. Asterisk Swish. Asterisk. Manifesting his two beast swords, a grey glow coated his figure as grey aura blades revolved around his body. Charging forward while wildly swinging his swords, every spatial orb that came from him was instantly cut to pieces. As for the ones that managed to pass through his attack, his aura blades stopped them from touching his body. Still managing to charge forward despite Langris's best attempts to stop him, Grim couldn't hold back his urge to laugh. Is that all you got, you bitch-ass pansy? At this rate you might as well cut your balls off cause you're about to be made into bitch. You dare! Hearing Grim's words, the sinister mana emanating out of Langris started going out of control as a large purple aura started rising out of his body. Eyes turning red from becoming bloodshot, Langris lost himself in his rage and started to wildly swipe his hands at Grim while also keeping Archangel shoot down. While these wild swipes of his might have looked like random swinging from an audience's point of view, Grim's instincts, ki, and transparent world ability made him take more notice of these swipes compared to the spatial orbs. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Moving out the way of the Langris's swings, Grim found the area that he was previously at was split in two. He's cutting space. Feeling his senses go into overdrive, Grim became more conscious of those swings as his speed started slowing down. Seeing this, a dark smile emerged on Langris's face as he spread his arms out wide like the Messiah and increased the number of spatial orbs. Ha 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 ha. Grim! Asta and the others screamed from the viewing platform. Even the Wizard King, who was initially excited to see this match, frowned slightly. Asterisk swish. Asterisk. Asterisk swish. Asterisk. Asterisk swish. Asterisk. Pushing his beast instincts, ki, and the transparent world to the limit, Grim cut through countless spatial orbs while evading Langris's spatial cuts. Capable of defending against this magic, beads of sweat could be seen rolling down the side of Grim's face as he felt his stamina rapidly depleting. Fuck. The increase of spatial orbs are starting to push me back. Not to mention dodging these spatial cuts are really starting to have a negative effect on my stamina. Ha 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 ha. Die, you trash. Dodging more spatial cuts, the ground beneath Grim's feet started looking horrible as it was filled with holes and long gashes from the spatial cuts. Feeling his sweat drop, the pressure on Grim continued to increase as Langris wasn't giving him a moment to catch his breath. This could be bad. Fuck. I don't even have time to use that. Seeing Grim struggling, a feeling of unrest started welling up in Fragile's chest. After all the effort she had put into her training and getting stronger, Langris was the one who looked like he would be the one to defeat Grim. Gritting her teeth, her grimoire flipped to a different page as she prepared to add her own attacks into the mix. I'll defeat him before Langris gets the chance. Just as she was about to launch her spell, a suffocating presence stopped her in her tracks. Feeling a shiver run down her side, she slowly turned her head to the side and saw the bloodshot-eyed Langris staring at her. El Longri. Don't you dare interfere. He spoke with a chilling presence that caused her legs to tremble out of fear. Facing off against Langris's barrage of attacks, Grim barely managed to evade a spatial cut as he felt blood seep out from a cut on the side of his cheek. Shit. My movements are starting to become rigid. I won't be able to dodge any longer if this continues. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk. Realizing that his movements were starting to dull, Grimm made a quick decision to switch styles. Breath of Water, third form, Flowing Dance. Switching to a style that enhanced mobility, Grimm's aura lost its savage nature as it became calmer. Due to his decreased stamina, he couldn't take full advantage of his Breath of the Beast base power, making his current movements a lot tamer compared to its usual violent form. Mimicking the movements of waves on the surface of water, an ethereal stream of blue water followed behind him as a calming blue aura clung to his body. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Swerving past the spatial orbs and spatial cuts, Grimm was finally able to breathe a little. Noticing this, a frown crawled its way onto Langris's face as he upped the ante by swinging his arms even faster. While she was scared of Langris's current state, Fragile couldn't accept not being part of Grimm's downfall. Using her magic to make it snow, the temperature around Grimm grew colder, causing his movement speed to be affected again. Doing his best to evade the increased spatial cuts and orbs, he saw his breath become visible in front of his face and realized that his stamina had reached its absolute limits and that he was moments away from falling. Is this it? Asterisk bang. Asterisk. He barely managed to dodge a spatial cut and received a sharp cut on his shoulder. Am I really gonna have to hold this L? Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Shit. I don't mind losing, but to lose to a guy that I had stepped on, how fucking embarrassing is that? Asterisk bang. Asterisk. Receiving another cut but on his leg this time, Grimm's consciousness had finally given way as the water sword in his hand dematerialized and the aura around his body vanished. Grimmom. His friends on the viewing platform screamed. Rebecca's workplace. No. No. Rebecca and her friends from the mixer screamed in union when they saw Grimm's bloodied figure. You can't lose here. A random commenter sobbed when he saw Grimm fall. He was supposed to be our hope. Even he lost at the hands of a noble. All around the kingdoms, cries of frustration and despair rang out as they watched their shining star fade. Teresa's orphanage. Grimm. Marie and the orphans cried. Grimm. Teresa whispered. You're a real lucky son of a bitch, you know. Standing inside Grimm's mindscape, the distorted figure of King smiled at the falling Grimm. Choosing Breath of the Beast as your base. I bet you didn't even think that it would have this kind of effect, hey? Watching Grimm fall in slow motion, King felt the mindscape tremble a little. Ha! You really are one lucky son of a bitch. Watching Grimm fall, Langris burst out into a fit of hysterical laughter. I did it. I did it. Ha 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 ha. How do you like that, you filthy piece of trash? Lowly commoners like you should remember your PLAC. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Pausing mid-sentence, the sudden fluctuation of mana and the bright blue light bursting out of Grimm's body caught him and Fragile off guard. What in the? Asterisk rar. Asterisk. Interrupting him again, the sound of a bestial roar snapped him out of his feeling of victory as a surge of wild mana hit his senses. The sound embodied rage, anger, and a promise of a messy death. What is that? Feeling a shockwave that shook the entire battlefield, everyone including Asta felt a wild flow of power emerging from Grimm's body. What is that? Asta's voice shook. You can sense that? Noelle looked shocked as she glanced at the magic-less Asta. If you can sense it too, then what he's releasing isn't just mana, it's his presence. Julius abruptly said. Looking at the blue pillar of light rising out of Grimm's body, the entire kingdom fell silent when they saw the pillar of light separate from Grimm's body and escape into the air. What's going on? Confused by what was happening, the blue light started to shimmer and began to descend back down to Grimm's figure. As it nosedived, the blue light's form started to become more defined and detailed as it took on appearance of a blue water dragon. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. Raising the newly materialized water sword high into the air, the dragon opened its mouth to unleash a ferocious roar before being absorbed into the sword. While all of this was going on, no one realized that the pupils in Grimm's eyes were completely gone as the thing standing before them wasn't Grimm. Boosted by his Breath of the Beast instincts, his body had entered a state of fight or flight. And floating silently by his side, his grimoire glowed a bright blue as words began to emerge on a new page. Breath of Water, 10th form, Constant Flux.
Thanks for listening.